All right, and we are live for another stream for the Gatekeepers on a Wednesday night, the 6th of April. It's just after 7:30, and you're looking down at my paint desk. Hey, Shadow and Sun. I dropped a link for you in the background on Discord. So if you would like to join up, we would have Palaver, Man of War 665, Neighbor of the Beast. Hail to you. The working day is over. Yay. Let the play day commence. So tonight's Gatekeeper stream is going to be primarily discussing things we went over a little bit last week, gaming with family. We've got a new voice in the Gatekeepers Discord, Shadow and Sun, and I think it's really neat. You have a man showing his son the game culture, the gaming culture as it should be shown. And as much as my father taught me about a lot of different things in the out of doors, he didn't know about this. So he was not into this sort of thing that I'm into now. Although he really likes the finished products. And that is something that you get from being a miniature hobbyist. My dad, being a Lionel train set guy now, he's very much into that hobby. So, how is everybody in YouTube land? I know we were talking about doing this stream tonight, and some people said, okay, fine, whatever. But I think this is a neat topic to play with, because for a lot of you that have family close by, it's a way for you to introduce them to your hobby. And for the most part, tabletop RPGs and even most tabletop war games are not that expensive. Yeah, you do have the option to burn your entire wallet. You do have the option to fund the next 10 years of GW if you so choose to. I'd rather see Mantic get that money myself. Mantic always makes good quality materials. Okay. And as I'm nearing my 100th figure to be finished for this year, up on in the green room there, Shadow and Sun. And this is something I want to discuss because I think that hobbies like this, wintertime is a perfect time for this to take a front seat in your activity diet for your hobbies. Because most of you that live in the Midwest or somewhere where it's not temperate year round, like say San Antonio, where we have a week or two of foul weather, and then it goes right back up. I think this is a perfect way for you to introduce and show people your gaming hobby, and what better people than to show it to your family. Would everybody please welcome Shadow and Sun?
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening?
Just got home. Probably going to be snacking on a little bit of food here and there, but oh, I see somebody's got a Twilight Imperium box set up there.
Yes, I do. Yeah, and here's a little guy. He's going to join us too.
Fantastic.
Hello. Yeah, I've got this is this is not even a small sampling, just the, you know, some of the stuff in our collection: Twilight, Shadows of Brimstone, Aeronautica, Hero Quest, Siege of the Citadel, Robotech. I've yet to play Robotech though.
For Mutant Chronicles.
Pardon?
You have Siege of the Citadel for Mutant Chronicles?
You betcha. The whole Kickstarter. Yeah, we love that game.
I love that gaming universe.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been a fan of Mutant Chronicles since the original Siege of the Citadel, Doom Trooper, Warzone Ultimate, all that. Looking forward to the new Kickstarter.
When Heartbreaker had that, it was a great thing.
Yeah.
And it's sad that nobody knows or recognizes that. You have to, okay, I'm going to take you back to the 90s, and you jog their brain for about an hour, and they'll be like, after you explain it all, oh yeah, I remember Doom Trooper. It was a card game.
I love that card game.
Yes.
So much fun. I don't have enough of the cards to teach the little guy that, but I know he'd love it.
Excuse me.
Hey, Jade.
Hello.
And of course, we did a review of the movie a while back. We loved that, even though everybody hates it.
I mean, the movie was good, but it definitely seems like it's. I'd say that it doesn't seem like it's actually the same thing, because it's a good movie, but it doesn't seem to be. It just doesn't feel like it's actually Mutant Chronicles. I mean, of course, there are some things there that would fit, but at least I don't know that much. But from what I do know, it just doesn't seem like it's very
complete.
Not necessarily, not even complete. It's just the way things are set up and how they just show up, and then seems like a month or two later, they are just defeated.
That's about it.
Have you heard about the new Kickstarter?
For which one?
Warzone.
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's like right now they're doing Chronopia, so I'm guessing when that's over, we'll see a new Warzone Kickstarter. But I've got so much stuff from the original Warzone, and this stuff's going to be resin. And by looking at the price of Chronopia, it's going to be spendy, very expensive.
That was why I bought it in the first place, because it wasn't that expensive.
Yeah. You can really stock up on the old stuff pretty cheap nowadays.
I'll have to look for the old Chronopia, because the Chronopia figs actually were good.
Yeah, I have a few, but really not that many. Hey, Jade, I just saw you there.
Jade, you're muted.
Hello.
There you go.
Yes, I know. I'm muted.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to close the window real quick so we can hear you better.
Yeah, I was caught a bit of a storm there. Allergies are really kicking my butt this time around.
Yes, the trees are making my wife go miserable right now. She's upset. The trees make her life horrible here.
How so?
Cedar is mountain cedar is not a specific species of tree that's native to Texas. It's invasive. The good Czechs, when they came over here, they brought things that would remind them of home.
Sure.
And they brought something that probably should have stayed over in Eastern Europe. And that is the mountain cedar tree, which in this environment, the pH level makes it an allergen. It's terrible here.
I did not know that. Yeah, I was in the garden trying to start some veggies from seedlings, but it's slow going.
It's actually why I haven't been able to record videos as of late, because I can't go like 5-10 minutes of talking without hacking out a lung.
Yeah, the little guy's got allergies too. I used to have them.
They're not that bad anymore, but
Go ahead.
I have allergies usually whenever I don't take allergy medicine, because it started getting really bad, I believe, last year, and then I just started taking them. Whenever I don't take them, I usually have a hard time, but it really isn't that bad. It's only really been really bad 2 times, at least as far as I can remember.
Yeah, I get the seasonal allergies every spring into fall, so it gets pretty bad, even with allergy meds.
I used to have allergies really bad, like hospital bad, And when I was 17, I started working for the Forest Ranger Department here in Cali, and I was surrounded by everything I was allergic to with no way of coming back down the mountain. So I basically spent a week, almost 2 weeks in the infirmary, still surrounded by that stuff. And by the end of the 2 weeks, it was gone. I was just like cured. My body just adapted. And the only thing that bugs me now is cats.
Adapt and overcome.
Yep. It sucked. I'm not going to lie. It sucked real bad. But I literally had no choice. And now,
It's probably better in the end.
yeah, I'm glad I went through it because that was, 40 years ago. And, I've been 40 years without the sniffles, so to speak.
I thought you were in your 50s. My bad.
Oh, I am. I'll be 55 this month.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 17, so it's almost 40 years.
Okay. And I'm like, man, he looks pretty good for being in his 60s.
Oh,
Figure out what he's doing.
Oh, no. I got a ways to go for that. I got a couple of friends that are in their 60s and not doing so hot.
Well,
The 80s were rough on all of us.
I like the 80s.
I'm telling you, man, 80s were great. Great hair, great clothes, great music,
Great cars. The cars.
great cars, great game. So our version of the 60s.
Basically, since we didn't have the 60s to live through on our own, we got the 80s, and it turned out pretty good. I heard somebody saying the other day, I don't know why you guys are complaining. I can find a game within 10 minutes on my Discord. I can wrestle up a group for a campaign within a 45-minute span. We have girls that play the game if girls are integral to your lives. And I'm thinking, no, dude, I don't want somebody who's a fair weather gamer. I want somebody who's ready to commit for at least a year at the table.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah, if not more. I just convinced the other DM that I alternate with. I'm like, listen, let's go to every other weekend because we're no longer needing every third week. And he's willing to agree with that, so I'm happy to say I'll be doing my game every 2 weeks.
I envy that. I can't get a game going right now.
What's going on?
Just COVID.
Oh.
And,
We don't really have we have time. It's just.
Yeah, with the little guy's school and, everything else and COVID, the wife is real, suspect to having people over. And
as much as I love and prefer having people over, Discord makes it real easy.
Yeah, I'm planning on running a game with some people from all over the planet, literally. A guy in Ireland, Cal, Cal, and
Yes.
some old friends, and the little guy here, and hopefully we can do that on Discord. But you guys really got me wanting to actually be a player. I haven't actually been in somebody else's game in 25 years, and I'm just, oh man, you have no idea what it's like.
Oh, I have an idea.
I've been a dungeon master for 90% of my gaming career, not including versus games, board games and war games and stuff like that. And to be a player now with what I've learned over the years.
What?
Oh, I thought you wanted to say something.
No.
You guys really, normally I wouldn't give it a second thought. Most of my dungeon masters in the past were, not very good. Now I can't wait. I don't care, who's dungeon master. I already know what I'm going to play. Something simple, good old fashioned, meathead barbarian, and I'm happy as a clam.
Jade?
Yes?
I'm looking at a family man version of Blaine when he's 55. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think I've met Blaine.
Chimerian.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kai. I mean,
Kai
that's
50?
He's like 35, 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I think he's a bit older than me, but I think I'm the youngest person at the stream right now. No, but I mean that's kind of a thing with us forever GMs is that we get stuck in the GM role because either we're good at it or nobody else wants to take up the mantle.
Yeah. Or they're afraid that we're going to ruin their game because we know every trick in the book and, we're going to derail it or not go along with the railroad.
Sure.
I'll go along with your railroad. Just tell me it's a railroad.
Yeah, just be upfront about it.
Yeah. Who was it? Heathen Dog. I was talking with him, in Max's stream over the weekend, and he's a huge fan of the railroad, and I've done it. I'll do it again, but I'll tell people, to be honest, most of my players don't even know what railroading means, versus sandbox.
Well, it's because that's what most of the industry is railroad.
Yeah.
Module play, adventure paths from Paizo, they're all railroads to a great extent or great portion of it is.
Even the Ardo and Dungeons I run, or the old AD&D modules I've run from time to time. That's what it was, and people didn't really have a problem until, I guess, the word sandbox came into the lexicon, and people realized, oh, what? I can do whatever I want? Well, yeah, since the beginning, but we just don't like it.
I'm actually, so I used to be really big into the, I'm telling my story, and now I'm more getting into the, what, I have a story I want to tell, but I want you to discover it on your own. I don't want to just spoon feed it to you anymore. I want you
Absolutely.
to be
I think we
involved.
all kind of made that mistake at one point or another, just like, so many of the other Dungeon Master sins out there. But yeah, it's so much more rewarding when they think they've figured it out, even though they haven't, well, maybe they have.
Occasionally.
There are some that they didn't take a lot of good lessons out of Kingmaker. And I reference that adventure path a lot. I don't know if you two played it.
No,
but
no, we've never touched anything past AD&D second edition. I think I told you I have Pathfinder second edition. I'm going to give that a read soon, but my stack of reading to-do list is pretty thick. And, I've heard, a lot of people don't like Pathfinder second edition, or that's the general impression I'm getting. I honestly don't know.
I tried the alpha test of it and I was not impressed. And then worse yet, they had a editorial page on page 6. Literally on page 6, they told you this is a game that we intend to make it's a safe space for everybody. So you have to welcome anyone that wants to play. And I kind of felt slapped in the face because this is kind of the industry that we were all welcoming back in the 90s. You want to play D&D? I don't give a shit if you're transgender, fucking half Chinese, or what. I don't care who, what, race, sex. I don't care. I didn't care if you were identified yourself as
a toaster fucker.
Whatever it was. I just sit your butt in a table and play.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my version of what the 90s were for us. And then here I am 20 years plus later, and these people are saying you have to welcome everybody at your table. And I'm like, we already do this. Where have you been?
Yeah. They're just looking for brownie points.
Yeah.
And for the people who may be, new to everything, I see where they would put that in there, but if I've let you in my front door, that ought to be a clue enough, unless you're actually playing at a store or something like that, which, for the last 2+ years hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We had one just open up fully here, and the other one is lagging behind. But I'm not surprised because Dragon's Lair has a lot of people involved with it that were they're retail smart and they will do drop-offs. Like if you select online what you're buying, you go and they scan your card at the parking lot, and then they go in and grab your material. They'll do that for you.
That's cool.
But they really don't like you walking around in the store when Fauci's there. You know, like, oh, you better be wearing a mask. If you're not wearing a mask, you can't shop here. And I got tired of that, especially after I fought COVID in the hospital. And I had 19 days to read. Some of those days were spent looking at Fauci's days at AIDS. So I don't have a very high opinion of him.
Nope. And as you know, we watch a lot of a certain salty individual have since day one, and lots of other stuff. We're still in the smackdown, the smack center of lockdown central here, and I haven't worn a mask in a year and a half going on now. Pure blood, the two of us, and we're not buying it. Neither are the people in our area. But we live.
There are a few, but
Yeah,
it's a very small group.
Yeah.
California is excessively red, except for the cities.
Yeah, we're about an hour away from Los Angeles in the high desert area, and there's not a lot of young folks out here, and the ones that are, you can see them, their Kool-Aid hair off in the distance, and it's very red here, and very it's almost a retirement community. Everybody here is for the most part older than me, and he's one of the youngest people in a 4-block area.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds kind of like Kerrville, Texas, or Branson, Missouri, which I know Mike might be familiar with more than he wants to be.
Yeah, it's pretty rural. We've got horses and stables and stuff like that nearby. No cows or pigs or anything like that, but lots of horses, and lots of certain flags flying. And
actually, from what I've seen, it's more our side of the city, because I've heard stories from people that live on the other side that it is a nightmare over there. I mean, you can see body bags on the street because of gang violence. I'm surprised how it's not that far apart yet. The few times I've been there, it feels like I'm in LA.
Heavy Duty Country. You ever watch the site?
Mm-hmm.
He used to live around here.
Okay, yeah, he lives over in Bastrop now.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy.
He's got his head on square. He got into a little bit of internet drama with another creator about 3 months ago, and I haven't had him in my feed since then. But I like what he has to say generally.
Yeah,
he's a younger guy, and younger people, I will let them make mistakes more frequently than people my age or older.
Yeah, but the few mistakes I've seen, they're pretty few and far in between.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I've been trying to get him to contact me back, because I think there's going to be a few people meeting up here in Poteet, which is just south of San Antonio, and that's quite a bit of a festival. And they're doing a festival here for once. Well, right now we've got Fiesta going on, which is the city's Mexican, grab your Mexican and do out, dance, drink lots of Dos Equis, and generally just inhale way too many tortillas and burritos and Dos Equis and what is it? Victoria is the Mexican beer I really like. But that's what's going on right now in San Antonio. But I think in a couple of weekends we have the Poteet Strawberry Festival, and one of the local brew houses, the Shiner Bock people, have already got strawberry as a premium beer flavor in springtime, which is great.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. They have put a lot of thought into the Strawberry Festival, and they abstained from it in 2020. They brought it back last year, but nobody went. And then now that it's cool to kind of question things, everybody's getting out for it.
Yeah, people need to question a lot more things.
Yeah, and that's where America needs to get it. I mean, I don't mind if we question something and I'm wrong. I'll happily admit, hey, I was wrong.
Yep.
Speaking of questioning things, what is tonight's stream about?
Nice.
I was actually wanting to continue the riff that you and the guys had started last week, Mike. We had a bunch of discussion about gaming with family,
Oh,
and
okay.
being that we have an actual father-son representation in our grouping now, I actually would want to have them field questions or ask questions and have that be the star of tonight's discussion, because I think Shadow and Sun, there's a lot of families out there like them, where like the father got raised on basic X or had the magenta box, and he delved through B1 and B2 as a middle schooler, and then years later he's got his kid and is like, man, let me show you what I did. Turn off that PlayStation for a bit.
Yeah,
And
for us, it really started with COVID. Well, not really. I mean,
Not entirely, but
I was
mostly.
teaching him some other games like Galacta 25 and Epic Space
Did a
Marines.
bit of Shadows of Redstone before then. There was a time when
Yeah.
we played like 2 times or 3 times a week
Yeah,
after school. That was a long time ago though.
but then
But it mostly started in because in 2020.
he was home all day, and we was done with online schooling. It's like, he was just, had nothing to do. We were not encouraged to go ride our bikes and things like
We
that.
really should have.
Yeah.
Well,
And
by the latter end, we started.
Mhm.
Actually, I think it might be the opposite of that.
but at the beginning,
don't
his mom didn't want him leaving the house, without 6 masks and goggles and gloves.
Okay, originally, well, it was actually both of you at the start, but
Yeah.
originally,
When it first started, I was as careful as anybody else, maybe even more so, washing the groceries when we got back from the store, all that.
but it ended a lot faster than when I've looked back, and it actually ended a lot faster than I thought it did. Pretty much as soon as the sign went by, you're like, nah, screw it, I don't care anymore.
But yeah, we had nothing to do except video games, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to break out the player's handbook. And the very first night, made his characters. We ended up playing till midnight, and that was what a couple years ago now. And he just he just loved it. With being a little bit younger, he was still in that make believe phase with his friends, and I'm like, this kid is he's already dungeon mastering for his friends. He just doesn't realize it. He's making up the story that they're playing, and I'm like, it's time to break out the dice. And I can only imagine how many people are doing the same thing, like you said, and really should just dive in, the whole family, mothers, daughters, brothers, sisters, uncles, anybody who's interested. It's such a fantastic invention if you think about it, from the evolution of cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers, to Dungeons and Dragons, or maybe superheroes. For those kids that did that too. I know my friends and I did that.
I think that's how it starts.
I even had friends that when we were really young, we played World War II, like Snoopy and the Red Baron kind of thing. And then Dungeons and Dragons came along and gave us some structure, gave us some guidelines, gave us dice and miniatures, and just it's one of the greatest inventions of society as a whole. I think that absolutely anybody, maybe you don't like the medieval fantasy setting, pick a genre. There's one that exists for you. There's
even kids on bikes.
Yeah.
If they can't wrap their head around medieval fantasy or Star Wars, there's
Stranger Things, or Beyond the Supernatural, or Chill, even Call of Cthulhu, set it in a modern setting. I even played Villains and Vigilantes. You guys familiar with that game?
Years ago.
It's been a while.
Where you're actually encouraged to make a character of yourself that becomes a superhero. we did that too. That was actually a really good idea. Not just for the genre, but to get new players to really be able to put themselves into the shoes of their character, because it's a character of themselves. And there's a genre out there for everybody, no matter what you like.
And that's the thing. If you're not willing to explore, you're not going to find a game you like, really. Hey, Grape Slug.
It's actually one of my favorite quotes, inspirational quotes was, I think it was Walt Disney who said it. If you're too afraid to leave the shores, you will never know the horizons beyond, or something to that effect.
It's very true.
The
Ominel
other
asks,
one,
what
the other
is
one,
your
Muhammad, I think,
favorite
was good too.
RPG?
Pardon?
Ominel asks, Shadow and Sun, what are your favorite RPGs so far? And it's a multiple choice or multiple answer question, so take your time.
Honestly, I really run my campaign is like, it's everything. It's a universe that has every world in it, but it's basically like a Star Warsian high sci-fi fantasy, but in that universe, every possible world genre game is out there somewhere. So you can literally, crash a spaceship on any kind of world. The only thing I don't really do is actually Earth. I've played some Top Secret and Boot Hill that are full Earth, but I just, love the whole GURPS, or in my case, Palladium, where, your characters can be from anywhere, but suddenly they're all together, and now they're buds, and they're on the adventure.
Yeah.
And you?
I mean, my experience is not that much when it comes to that. I mean, I've done quite a lot, but not that much when it comes to actual variety. So most of my experience.
What's your favorite genre?
For favorite genre, I always liked sci-fi. I particularly like sci-fi fantasy because I tend to think of those being like fantasy being more of a descriptor that is usually applied to medieval type settings. Despite the fact that it could technically work for a bunch of things. I know modern fantasy, or whatever it's called, I forgot the exact terminology for that, is or at least was popular.
Urban fantasy?
Yeah, urban, yes, that. I don't know much about it. I have heard of it, but I'd say sci-fi fantasy.
Not horror.
Horror is something I like, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
Yeah, he went through a horror phase when he was pretty young because of a certain game that I'm not going to mention because I'll get punched in the arm. But
By him?
What?
By
Yes.
him? He would punch you, or the wife would punch you?
He would punch me. He would punch
Okay.
me. Yeah, he's a little embarrassed,
Uh,
when you're young, you get into certain fads. We had pogs and things like that, and he had a particular popular game, but we don't speak that name in the household anymore,
well,
just because he cringes.
What was I gonna say?
Okay.
I forgot.
It's all right. I once listened to Depeche Mode, so take that as you will.
Fair enough.
We
But,
all have those embarrassing things.
You really couldn't turn on your radio back in the 80s without hearing them, so just chalk it up to that.
So,
Jade, what's your favorite?
oh man, my favorite setting or my favorite engine?
Let's go with setting first.
Okay. As far as settings go, I really do like the high fantasy, but I am also a sucker for steampunk, and that's why actually I like the Iron Kingdoms back when it came out for 3.5. I really liked the setting, the grittiness of it. Like, give me a dark, gritty, steampunk fantasy, and yeah, I'll be happy. It had gunpowder, but they were like 1 or 2 shot weapons. It had steam jacks, like these. Was it like war mechas, kind of like Gundams, but steam powered.
Okay. Like I want to say like what was that video game? Front Mission? You remember that?
Yeah, it's something similar to that. Yeah. I mean, they were like bipedal, steam-powered mech suits, or autonomous machines that would go, fight in war. It was, like I said, a very, very gritty system. Not quite grim dark, but definitely, yeah. You didn't want to get into a knife fight because it was always on a really dingy floor.
Okay. Yeah, you really never want to get into a knife fight to begin with. Those are some of the ugliest fights you can get in.
Right. So yeah, that was my favorite setting. I really enjoyed that. I also did enjoy the what was it called? Eberron system for the same reasons.
Uh-huh.
But as far as like engines go, man, I've read and played through 15 or so different engines. Nailing one down as my favorite, it would be very hard, but I do like currently index card RPG.
Okay. Now, do you go for like simple, streamlined is better, or are you a crunchy guy?
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
And
Right now,
I'll
your
say
favorite
that.
is the index card RPG. I think you don't have a favorite yet, Mike, but you're liking the ease and accessibility of the index card RPG.
I am, yes. Now, okay, when saying, do I like crunchy or do I like streamline? I like streamline because it's easy to grab a hold of. It's easy to just jump in and play.
Mm-hmm.
However, as a younger individual, and this is true for many of the years that I was gaming, I excelled in science and math in school. So being really good at science and math, I found a game that was all about math.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I can really excel at this because I'm really great at math. And that's, to me, what the game was about. It's about making my numbers so high and so crunchy that I was nigh on invincible.
Right.
And this is something I'm going to put in one of my videos at a later date when I start releasing videos. But there was a problem with that concept of being super crunchy and like being really into the math of the game. It drove people away.
Just for the little guy's benefit, would you mind defining streamline and crunchy?
I can.
You got it?
Yeah. I do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a crunchy guy, mostly because I'm a pack rat and I've got, thousands of books and I want more books. And every book brings me more information, even if I never use it. At the game table, I actually don't really use my books much. I just don't need them, I don't use a lot of random tables. I just don't need that. Just my setup for a game. If I have a map, that's cool. Then I have 2 lists: a list of monsters, a list of treasure, and I throw those out whenever I see fit. But the more books, the more rules. For both me and my players, I want them to. I feel like the more complex the rules are, the more the players will look for those tidbits that'll just help them out more than me or the game.
Right. And
That
and
is
there's nothing.
that is
Go
how
ahead.
the game is set up, though.
Yeah, if there was one end all be all set of rules, that would be Villains and Vigilantes 2nd edition, 47 pages. That's all you ever need. But then I would only have one book in my collection, and that would get stale. How about you, Bruce? Engine and favorite genre.
My favorite genre is still space opera. I saw Empire Strikes Back at
Yep.
the age of 5. It made me think about things differently. Like, is there a probe droid that could be outside the window, hovering, scaring the hell out of me? You're 5 years old. I mean, anything scares you. And you're like, I don't have the ability to make these things go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have used that term too. That's pretty much my favorite genre. Even though from that space opera you could land on a Western world or land on a superhero world or whatever.
And science fiction is great because if you so choose to be at a fantasy impasse, you could be at a fantasy impasse. You could be there playing in a fantasy campaign for years if you so choose. And
Are you familiar with Thieves World?
Thieves World, I am not familiar with it, but I have it.
Oh, wow, lucky you. It was basically a fantasy world setting that had basically more or less conversion abilities for you to bring a Traveler character, a D&D character, a Gamma World character, whatever, into a very low-tech, low-magic fantasy world that happened to be, centered around a city that was full of thieves like Lang Park.
And it was a campaign that a lot of my friends milked from a lot. They would bring elements of Thieves World into the game where we would be experiencing it every time in passing, it felt like. So we did get familiar with it, but we don't know exactly where the Thieves World stopped and the rest of the casserole that the game master, the storyteller wanted us to enjoy on our gaming diet. So, I mean, I grew up with that, and my favorite system is probably still Star Wars D6, but I'm going to give some love to Pathfinder and to the 3X system for D&D because there's a lot that happened in 2000 and 1999, and they've really benefited the gaming industry ever since then. When they came out with the OGL and they said, use our product, sell our books for the rule set, but you can make whatever rules you want just as long as you use this system. And I think that was probably where in my head I realized I don't have to design a Quake map or an Unreal Tournament map or a Unreal map to tell a story. I just have to learn these statistics and how do they relate to the gaming world at large. And once I get that down, I can really get into the nitty gritty. And so I've done everything I can basically to read through the 3.0, the 3.5 books, the Pathfinder book. As much as I like first edition, it's nearing its end because I'm rewriting it for the campaign I want to run, and it's going to have some severe differences from the original engine, but there's a lot that will retain into it just so when people are reading the free document, they're like, okay, he's using these rules. I can understand why. And then they get into initiative and combat, and they're like, wait, what? How is he? And they'll look at it, and they'll probably cuss me quite a bit, but it doesn't happen in real time. But I use, for instead of segments like in first edition, I use seconds. So you'll have somebody that they could either drop a cloud kill on your entire party, but instead they'll go for a couple magic missiles to get rid of that beefy barbarian before he can charge and waylay him with a two-handed sword. And once they can possibly put the barbarian down, then somebody else in the party might be able to operate, or maybe not if they're deciding to take long-term actions. And it's one of those things that when you commit to an action, you didn't stipulate, if our friend the barbarian goes down, I want to stop doing this spell and immediately kiss my butt goodbye. I don't want to, I don't want you to have the opportunity for that, because if that's how it's going to be, then every time the bad guys start to take their lumps, they're not going to stick around in combat. They're going to flee.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my best to make it to where it's not a system where you can flee so easily, because otherwise it'll just be a system where we saw some kobolds and one of them attacked our ranger. He's got a nasty scar and he's not able to move so well, but the rest of us got away safely. We're on our third day of searching for him.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
I haven't read any, like I said, anything past, second edition, no 3.5, 3, 5, 7, whatever they're going at.
Yeah,
And-
he was going to buy one just to read it and compare them, but he decided, I'll wait for the next one to come out. And then he was like, you know what? If that happens, I'm just not going to buy it at all.
Yeah, I hate, the big companies' planned obsolescence. We've talked about this before. When they know they're
Yeah.
going to do something and then just, start from scratch all over again with, everything that they do, everything they've done, and, more or less, invalidate your collection, so to speak. That really bothers me. But
I've noticed it a lot with Games Workshop specifically, but it's not even relegated to any one thing. Most companies do that just with pretty much everything, be it specific products that are designed to fail extremely quickly, so you need to go out and buy another one, because if they make a really good product and it never breaks, then you're not going to need to buy another one. And same with this, you buy a really good game and it doesn't matter if they make another one because you already have it. And if people find out that they messed up in the next one, they're not even going to buy it. But if they force you to buy it, then
you'll buy it.
Yeah.
Well, you
Which
see
is
that's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I do like Paizo's approach to things, and they don't do backwards compatibility really well with the second edition into first, but their
Right.
first edition reached back into 3.0 and 3E really well. And Jade was one of the big proponents where he said, I don't like Pathfinder. I'm like, why? And he says, the system for Pathfinder is fine. The way they write their classes, it gives you less of an incentive to use their classes. But if you find a 3.5 class you like, and the GM says go ahead and use it as written, it works because you get more numerical bonuses than if you would with Pathfinder. Pathfinder is, if you ever read 3.0 and 3.5, then you read Pathfinder, you'll see what he's talking about. But the numerical bonuses in Pathfinder are considerably less than 3.0 and 3.5.
So they're two separate games, right?
They are.
Yes and no.
With a little bit of working, you can beat the product to where you have some off to the side rules to make it 100% compatible for your game. I'll let you speak, Jade. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. So my problem with Paizo and compared to 3.5 was Paizo's classes completely invalidated the need or want for prestige classes. See, in 3.5, you could be, the base classes, and you can run those base classes all the way out to 20, 30, 40 levels, whatever. But if you really wanted to get into like a niche type class, that's what prestige classes were for.
Yeah, I
And
actually have a little working knowledge with prestige classes. I'm not sure if it was from Forbidden Kingdoms or something else that I've read, but I kind of get the idea. They're like a spin-off class that's basically more, like you said, niche and advanced.
Right, they were specialty classes. So, like
Right,
a
that's what it
fighter
was.
could, or a dwarven fighter could become a dwarven defender and add his constitution to his armor. There were things like that where they were specializing in a specific direction. Like rogues could become assassins, and then you'd have this ability that you could, pull off an assassination. You study a target for 3 rounds and you make a death attack. And they get a fort save versus death attack, and if they fail, they die. They just instantly die. It doesn't matter what hit points they were at. So, the prestige classes from 3.5, really, guided players in a direction, but the archetypes in Pathfinder invalidated the need or want to play any of those prestige classes. Like there was just no reason for it anymore.
How did they do that?
Archetype. So in Pathfinder, you could pick a class, and then you could pick an archetype of that class starting at level 1. And it was basically a hyper-focused area of the class that would swap out certain abilities at certain levels, or even whole skills sets.
Kind of like just taking a prestige class, but earlier.
Yes, you would be taking a prestige class at level 1, basically.
Yeah.
It was kind of multi-classing, it was a more streamlined version of multi-classing. Like if I wanted to be a gunslinging wizard in Pathfinder, I could be a wizard and go the route, the path that offered me a gun, and I could cast
Okay,
spells.
you already got my attention with gunslinging wizard.
Actually, let me go pull the book real quick, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was, I do believe, Ultimate Magic. No, it would have been not Ultimate Magic, probably Ultimate Combat.
Ultimate Combat.
Yeah, because it was in the front section of the Wizards. Bard, Monk, Paladin, Ranger. Come on now. It was called the Spell Slinger. And how it worked was at specific levels, they would swap out different things. So let's see here. For Spellsinger, they got gunsmithing as a ability rather than scribe scroll. At first level, he had mage bullets. And instead of picking a specific school of magic, he had School of the Gun. And all of these abilities, added up to make a pretty powerful spell slinger. But instead of casting, through a wand or through a staff, they would cast through their gun. It was called Arcane Gun.
Oh man!
It was a really unique concept as well. I mean, I really enjoyed the concept of it.
Okay, I'm starting to get sweats, man. That's so up my alley. You can't even imagine.
And Iron Kingdoms had the same thing, only it was a class all on its own. It was called Gun Mage. But once again, the archetypes just kind of did away with any type of prestige class. So that was my main problem with Pathfinder. And there was no need to multi-class either.
Hold on just a second.
Gun Druid? I think you could pull off a Gun Druid in Iron Kingdoms. Or maybe that was the Black Clad. That was definitely a prestige class in Iron Kingdoms. And I actually wrote a lot of different prestige classes for 3.5 and even Pathfinder. I wrote my own prestige classes. Like I had, was it the Sacred Hunter, which was a gunslinging paladin who, through his oaths and his holy connection, he could shoot somebody who was possessed by a demon or a ghost, and the individual would not actually be harmed by the bullet. The bullet would pass through them, not harming them at all, and hit the spirit of the ghost itself.
You ever seen this one?
I have not.
Yeah, it's Comstar Games. I've had this for a while. I've never run it, but I really can't tell you much about it because I think I read it once and it was but I think it's quite possible that 2007
Okay.
that somebody might have heard of it besides us from the sound of things.
I'm gonna bring
It's
in
actually kind of a hard book to find, but it had one neat thing I really liked about it in it that stuck with me for some reason. I don't know if like any of the newer editions use experience points still, but it actually gave you experience points for reading non-magical books. Not a lot, but
that makes sense.
but and little bonuses for reading certain books as well. But that's all I can remember from that damn book.
I think I've heard you bring it up a few times.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was only once. But I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it shouldn't be that much, but
Right.
I'm gonna add in another character from my my Discord, and his name is Fizchozo. Fizchozo, where you at, buddy? He dropped. I was getting ready to add him in, and as I was hovering over the add to stream, dang it. Okay,
Nature's calling or dinner time.
possibly. If he's still out there, go ahead, Fizchozo. Grab yourself that invite and get back here. Okay. The Wizards and Gunslingers. When was that written?
2007.
That was a 3-5 book, was it not?
Comstar Games. I think it's a standalone, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. I've seen it before.
Yeah, I saw the title and I saw the cover. I'll show it. It's kind of glary.
If it was made for 3.5, in the first page or two of the book, it'll say that was made for a specific gaming system, typically, or this works with whatever game system.
It really doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's its own thing.
Cool.
But I saw the title and I figured it'd be right up my alley.
have you read the entire thing?
Yeah, I don't remember. I'll probably try and give it a look see. But I do eBay a lot, so I saw it. It was like $50 back then. I'm like, I'm gonna wait a little bit. Finally, eventually, it rolled around. I picked it up for maybe half that price, and tried to give it a look see, and it didn't really, grab me by the lapels or anything. But I knew it was kind of rare. Had a cool title. Maybe I'll reread it and figure out why I didn't like it. I'm usually, a pretty harsh critic when it comes to things like that. Sometimes it just takes one rule, and I'm like, that's not going to work.
And of course, you can always get rid of it or replace it, or
Yeah, take stuff out and grab what I can from it. But Wizards and Gunslingers, like I may have said before, Western anything in any other genre is like my go-to mix. Whether it be fantasy, fiction, horror. If I can throw some Western in it as well, then I've got the ultimate stew, so to speak.
yeah, he does that often.
Actually, one I might recommend. It's again, this is going back to in Nick's Card RPG. They actually have a setting for basically a Western. It's called Ghost Mountain. It has guns in it. It's a bit gritty. I haven't run that one myself. That setting. But the rules are streamlined for basically any type of game system.
Writing it down, man. I'm taking notes.
Actually,
now it's his turn to get up.
Did you ever
I keep
play
all those books behind me. This is the Master Edition, so this has all 4 worlds in it. It's got.
For a second, I thought you were holding up a copy of the Necronomicon.
No. So this has got Ghost Mountain, Snow and Blood, Alfheim, Warp Shell, I think that's all 4 settings.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's all the same rule set, and it's just different settings that you use the rule set, and they might have minor changes here and there to the core rules to enhance play in that flavor.
Gotcha.
So that is one I do recommend. The other one was Vigilante City as the other setting, where you can play superheroes or villains if that's your flavor. So
I was on Biggest Geekus a while back, and we talked about the evil party thing, and
He's not a fan.
not a fan.
evil parties can be fun so long as there are ground rules in place.
Right.
Yes.
And so long as the players agree, that I'm saying players, not characters, players agree to the said ground rules. As far as characters go, they typically have to be working for some entity, and that entity has to be, and I think this is actually going to be a table breaker topic somewhere down the road where we're going to discuss how to run evil games for players as GMs, because it is a topic that comes up at tables.
Yeah, and I had a huge section of notes. I've done it. My longest running campaign, which is literally a 25-year campaign that's still going on now, is started with evil characters. Most of them are still evil. Some of them have, like I said in the video the other day, decided that maybe being evil isn't such a good idea, and have, on their own, now that they have empires of their own, being so evil just doesn't work. It's a no-win situation, and them coming to that conclusion was one of my,
Something that you wanted.
well, that wasn't something I wanted, but it was one of my most gratifying moments, is when they came to me and said, "Hey, we think we need to not be so evil," and I'm just like, well, it only took 25 years, but you got there.
Yeah. I played an evil game. I was it was a Gestalt game. I was a warlock war mage Gestalt character. And it was a lot of fun. I ended the campaign, let's see, I think I was level 47, 48 when we ended. Took over 2 years to get there, but my character ended up being, I think, neutral good at the very end. He had done everything he had set out to do, revived his sister from 10,000 years in the past, and ruled a kingdom. So
It's pretty nice when you go from one spectrum to the other, as opposed to the other way around. It
Right.
seems like, fall is an apt word, going from good to evil, but redemption, I think, is just such a much better way to, shoot for.
Yeah.
and there really wasn't a redemption arc for the character either. It just happened naturally, because as he achieved his goals, he's like, well, I don't need to be this dick of a person anymore. I can actually
I'm
relax a
sorry.
little bit.
I literally was going to say the same word, but you beat me to it, and I was just holding myself because I didn't want to say it. But since you did, I'm just going to let out that belly laugh, because I've been there. I've seen my players do some atrocious things. Fortunately, there are, like you said, some ground rules and things that just the snuggle struggle. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, especially if people want to run an evil game, like those ground rules are there for mental stability.
Yeah, I think Palladium. One of the things they excelled at. I prefer the like selfish alignments more than the actual evil, because when they say that, they don't really know what they mean in a way.
Right.
They want to be selfish, but they like the moniker of evil. But then when push comes to shove, well, okay, your boss wants you to do this horrific thing, insert, something disgusting, and they're like, I don't want to do that. Why are you taking me here? Well, because that's the difference between selfish and evil. Evil
Skip
is
the fan, take the free candy, kid. Come on.
Yeah. I think 3.5 did a great job with I think it was Book of Exalted Deeds, where they defined what good was and the different types of good. And they're like they give like full multiple paragraph descriptions of what good meant. I think the same thing happened with Book of Vile Darkness as well, where they actually go into the deep side of it. It's like being evil is not necessarily the same as being selfish. It's not necessarily the same as being crass or rude or torturous or tyrannical. Those are elements of evil, sure,
Right.
but
Or even good
means something
if
else.
necessary. But
Yeah.
there's depths that players don't really want to go,
Right.
and as a dungeon master, I don't want to facilitate that, and I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to, like tempt them or test them. I just don't want any part of that. We're all here for a good time, and if your idea of a good time is in certain categories, I'm going to reevaluate our friendship.
Yeah.
It just, unfortunately, with those players, those issues, some of the more disgusting issues just, never came about. But, you can still be evil and not, and have a limit, let's say.
Sure.
Fortunately, it's,
Then you also have those characters, player or not player, that are evil because they're trying to achieve a goal that is not in line with societal norms. They're evil, but their goal is actually for the greater good. Or
my favorite,
their mind.
My favorite movie of all time, The Watchmen. Perfect example.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate that movie, but for me, it's got there's multiple reasons why it's my favorite, but it's a perfect example of talk about a twist ending, for one, and a refreshing take on a superhero movie, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I always like analyzing those type of things when it's like I'll rephrase that. I always like seeing, or not necessarily seeing, but I always like trying to understand or see what the overall goal of someone is, especially if they're not necessarily entirely portrayed as evil or good. If they just show you what someone does, and you're left to see why did they do it, what were the reasons, what did they sacrifice, or what were they not willing to do, and what were they willing to do. I may or may not be talking about a specific example, but there are multiple cases where I have seen this thing, and oftentimes they do try to at least show something is bad, but oftentimes people portray something as neither being good nor bad, or letting people decide. So there are also times where it's obvious where this thing is bad, but
someone was walking in.
Yeah.
He thought his mom was coming.
No. I was saying, I forgot. Oh yes, evil and the goals, and whenever you have some villain, they're working for the greater good, but it's like the ends justify the means is often what things end up being. Like, I'm going to commit genocide, but it's going to save the world, something like that. That's usually never the case. It's over exaggerated, but
how far are you into the Marvel films?
I watched them, but I don't remember much about them.
Okay,
that sounds about right.
When we found out Iron Man was going to bite the dust, we kind of.
Well, I did I watch it?
No, you didn't.
I thought I did.
No, we sort of boycotted the last one. I think he's seen like some of the Spider-Mans.
I think
and
the last one
Shang-Chi and.
I only watched that one because
the point of my question. The point of my question was there was this whole thing on the internet for a while of Thanos did nothing wrong. Thanos, snapped away half the universe, but he had a reason for it. But he couldn't tell you what the reason was. He just said it was for the greater good. And one day you'll thank me. And fast forward that from that film to September, there was a film that came out that a lot of people didn't like, and I think I know why. But I actually saw this correlation. Huh?
The Eternals?
Yes, the Eternals.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I haven't heard much about it.
So, to understand Thanos's reasoning, you have to watch the Eternals. Like that, those two are very key to each other.
It wasn't his sort of romance with death.
No,
That wasn't the
that
comic.
wasn't it at all.
Okay.
You
Actually, I
omitted
don't.
that in the MCU.
Yeah, they
Lady
have.
Death does not make a part.
Yeah, I had all the Infinity comics. I still do.
Yeah, it wasn't Thanos's. I don't think they've actually addressed Lady Death in the MCU at all yet. I don't think they will either.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Probably not.
Not until Deadpool gets involved. But that again is the point. You know, he did a lot of really evil things. He committed mass genocide on planets. He wiped out entire species of existence. But his reasoning, if you watch the Eternals, makes some sense because he was trying to prevent something from happening. And I can't go into it because it's spoiler territory, and I'm very much not a person who goes into spoiler territory.
Hold on, I want to answer somebody. Death Race 2000, the 1975 version. I don't think I've seen it. I think I saw another Death Race type movie a while back. But I'll give it a look see since we're going to be playing some Gaslands here pretty soon. And I actually have some old rectify this heresy. Sure thing, Grave Slug. And I actually have some Eternals comics from back in the day. My comic book collection is pretty extensive, although it more or less I stopped buying comic books when the X-Men went and did that whole other alternate dimension version of the X-Men where they were trying to hook Jean Grey up with Wolverine and that sort of nonsense. I'd had enough. I still buy comic book. I still buy comic books to fill in slots and things like that, but I haven't bought a new comic book. I think we bought one comic book for the little guy.
No, that was a long time
It was
ago.
like a Spider-Man 2099.
I just remember we were driving by it, and I don't even remember. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah, it's by that other gun store that we go to.
No, where the comic book is.
Oh yeah, I know where it is.
Actually, no, I remember but I didn't know that one either. So.
Yeah, we. For a second, I just a name came to mind, and that name was Eddie.
Yeah, I know he does look like Eddie, but no, this is Thor in Ragnarok. He's missing a jaw.
Oh,
it works out. It's different.
Is it a graphic novel or?
Yes.
Okay, I really like graphic novels, just because of the sturdiness of the product, as opposed to a comic book that if you sneeze you can rip it, and especially with this little guy. I was every comic book I have is pretty expensive now. Even when he was younger. So now this summer we've decided we're going to pull out the entire collection, go through it, because now he has the respect and the understanding of hey, I have to kind of be careful with these, which is really kind of a drag. When we were kids, we could buy comic books and roll them up and stick them in our back pocket, and nobody cared. Now if you do that, you're a heretic. And
yeah,
and when I've got entire runs that are $50 a piece, it's you just okay. First you got to put on the rubber gloves, and you got to get the face shield, and pretty much COVID treatment for reading a comic book. It's graphic novels are going to be big on my shopping list. I think just to.
This has 3 volumes to it. Each one is 6 issues. The other 2 volumes I have are hardcover. and they're really good.
Yeah, you know what? That's something. Excuse me. I also want to look into is some of the old. I forget what they were called, but like the hardcover books that have like literally Spider-Man 1 through 20, the old one.
The omnibus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just talking about my John Carter omnibus last night, which I absolutely love. Even though the little guy ruined my first copy, we won't go into that. You remember that?
I have no knowledge of that.
Yeah, okay, then we'll talk about it. I just got my John Carter Warlord of Mars omnibus in the mail. I was reading it. I left it in the bathroom because that's where you leave them. And the little guy left the sink on, brushing his teeth.
I know exactly. I remember this now.
And I go into the bathroom,
And it's
just the water is everywhere, and it's I can already see it wrinkling and just absolutely ruined it. Just ruined. But
that
fortunately,
reminds me of something.
I actually saved it. I was able to resurrect it. I still bought another copy, but I told him, okay, when this dries, you can color in the pages. And that never happened. I don't know why, but I lost my shit that day. I mean,
Almost like when it happened a few months ago.
yeah, it was. Hey, I just said that. Rollerball, Sun and Green, Omega Man, and Silent Running, and I'm pretty sure they're all by Harry Harrison. We've got them downstairs, getting ready to watch all of them. Great movies for you old school sci-fiers. They're some of the most classic sci-fi movies of all time. I'm not sure why you brought that up, but Omega Man's the only one I don't have a copy of, and it's a shame because I'm a Heston fan from way back. Planet of the Apes was my. You guys probably don't remember, but before Star Wars, Planet of the Apes was the thing.
Yeah,
it was
fun.
I mean, it was before my time, but yeah, it was definitely bigger than Star Wars.
Yeah, it was like the first trilogy, whatever, for sci-fi, and that's what we played as kids. I was in elementary school, and the same as a friend of mine for I don't know how many years through like first through sixth grade. That's what we played at recess. We were Brent and Heston, Taylor and Heston, or Taylor and Brent, excuse me, and everybody else was apes on the playground, and we were trying to not get caught by them, and that ran 3-4 years of my childhood, and such good movies.
1976 happened.
Yeah, it changed everything. And I'm actually doing it's funny you mention that. I'm actually next week doing a video all about 1976, 77, and it's not because of Star Wars. Because a lot of things happened to me in that year that just changed everything for me. A bunch of things came to my attention. They may have actually come out before that. One of them didn't, but it was a great year to be a kid. Not just Micronauts and Star Wars, but oh man, there was some good stuff.
Well, Star Wars kicked off this fantastic science fiction explosion, which you guys hadn't seen since the 50s with 56's Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
And Star Wars had a bigger influence in that in time. And it was just a fun period to be alive because you were able to walk, talk, and poop and wipe yourself whenever the Jason of Star Command and Space Academy were on Saturday mornings. I was still in diapers when Jason of Star Command was on.
Yep. And Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars. What was that other one?
You had Star Trek, even around that
Space
time.
1999. Space 1999 came out in 79, I think.
Really?
When did that come out? I'm trying to think.
Because I've only seen 2 episodes of Space 1999 in my whole life, and that was recently. That show was totally not on my radar.
1975.
Okay.
That's
why. Yeah. There's a reason why I don't remember that show.
Yeah. I tried watching it. It seemed interesting, but it was actually very, very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alien
Like
was
high tech
79,
for
my
its
bad.
time, but it was more realistic. That's the word I'm looking for. Except for a few things, some of the characters and situations, it seemed like a very, very realistic, almost silent running kind of sci-fi or Outland or
And for you kids that haven't seen Outland yet, I'm gonna hog the mic. Um, I'm gonna pimp this movie because it came out in like 1979 through 81, somewhere around there. Sean Connery is the lead,
Mhm.
and he gets sent to this dusty little space rock out in the middle, either Saturn or Jupiter's moons. And it's a Western tale set in outer
Yeah, I was
space.
gonna say, isn't it like High Noon in Space?
Yep. And he meets one of the supervisors on this mining rock, and every aesthetic is from 1979's Aliens, because all the corridors look like that.
Yeah.
Prison colony or mining colony. It has the same set designer, I want to say, that was in Alien that did all this work for this movie. Prison mining colony. Yeah, you're right. And it he's investigating why is there a bunch of deaths
Right.
from narcotics over here? What is the reason? And so Sean Connery does some really good detective work, and just being Sean Connery in general.
Right. And not Bond at the same time.
Yeah. And it's just a fantastic movie. But when you're watching it, keep in the back of your head, this could be non-canonical Aliens universe.
Yep.
Now, Blade Runner and Soldier are in the same movie universe, because in the Soldier film, the lead up showing off Kurt Russell as an adult, they show you that he's in training, and a bunch of the battle scenes are locations and events that Roy Batty is discussing on his eulogy.
Right.
Final
Right.
minutes of Blade Runner.
I've only seen Soldier once, and I just watched. This bummed me out. I watched a version of Blade Runner, and I think it was maybe one of the director's cuts, or I forget the exact title it had. But the ending was chopped. Basically, Decker and the girl, I can't remember her name. They're driving away, and they totally skip the part about what they talk about her potential future. They just chopped it right there.
Why?
Well, the Blade Runner film theatrical release, Roy Batty in his final moment sees that any life is considered life worth living, and no matter how bad you are, you're never past redemption.
Yep.
So in his final moments, he saves Deckard and doesn't let him fall off the side of a building, and then he expires.
Yep.
Then kick in the Vangelis soundtrack for the credit sequence, and it shows Rachel and Decker flying in their little space car, the little hover car, into the wilderness and the fields outside of LA, between LA and Bakersfield. And as they're doing that, he discusses he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't have a plan, but he's intending to keep her alive as long as he can. So that ends on a high note, but she's got an expiration date.
Well, that's just it. The version I originally saw said she didn't have one.
Correct. The director's cut, she didn't have an expiration date.
And that was the higher note that I was talking about that they cut out. And I'm like, what you missed the best part. They got the whole happily ever after just, ahead of them. And they, I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you just cut the best part of the movie, obviously the end, out of any version, period.
Why would you do that with any movie ever?
Yeah.
Well, I believe in chopping all of the Captain Marvel out of the MCU
Yes.
including all the stuff that happened on Twitter, because then I wouldn't be on a boycott of everything Disney right now.
Is that the only reason you'd be boycotting Disney? Come on, let's be honest.
That was the final straw back in 2018.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I for those of you who've been hanging on until last week,
Was last week?
or the week before, whatever.
Disney still has been questionable, but their recent actions, I'm glad I haven't given them $1 since Ant-Man and the Wasp. That was the last movie of theirs I watched.
Yeah,
and
it was
a fitting end for that
Spider-Man
series.
Homecoming,
I don't remember.
and I didn't pay for that. I got it free.
It's true.
But speaking of which, those certain kinds of people that we all despise.
Yes.
Have you heard they got a new nickname now?
Oh no. What they got now?
Instead of the P word or the G word, they're now Disney's.
Yeah, well, Disney has a bad record, and I wasn't even wanting to discuss that. That'll be on one of my own solo streams where I talk serious politics about my consumerism, my edited consumerism since 2018. Man of War brings up a movie that I haven't seen in probably 2 years, The Keep.
I've never seen it. I know, more blasphemy, guys. I've never seen The Keep.
The Keep is a early 80s horror movie, but the movie that they did not release, that did not have the money for it, Michael Mann wanted to do like a Thanos-like all-encompassing bad guy, and he edited out like 50 minutes. The budget he would have needed was about $20 or $30 million more for The Keep. And you're not the only one that hasn't seen it, so.
Okay, great, Slug. Thanks.
It's not must-see 80s horror, but if you like 80s horror, you're going to enjoy it. This here, I would probably be upset with if you guys haven't seen it yet. Probably my second favorite John Carpenter film of all time.
Yeah, he hasn't seen it. He knows
I
a
want
bit.
to, but
Yeah, and it's really kind of irritating me. Our old movies are getting really expensive, as are old books. Have you seen the price of an old paperback book lately?
No.
$25. But you know what the secret is? I just learned this. I want to share this because I've been buying up a lot of paperback books. I mean, a lot. I probably bought like 50 in the last month. Let me give you an example. I was looking for an Edgar Rice Burroughs book. Pick. It could be a Tarzan. Just pick one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the one book. That's all I needed. $25. But then I go for lots of books, that happen to have that same book in it. You can pick up seven to a dozen books for about $2 a piece.
yet buying it individually is.
Yeah, don't ever buy a book individually. You can get extra copies of books you already have for, like I said, about $2 a piece. I got 7 Burroughs books. I got 7 of the Horse Clans books. Each time it was $15, including shipping.
Not bad.
Yeah. So what's going on is they know you're looking for that book, so they're gonna, basically stick it to you. If especially like if it's an old book, like if you were to try to find a copy of The Hobbit right now, you'd probably be looking at at $25 for a paperback book. Or like I buy a lot of pulp books like The Shadow, Doc Savage, things like that. If I'm looking for book number 3, it's going to be $25 to $50. But if I want to buy a pile of books, then I'm buying from someone who doesn't realize that they can stick it to me, and they're just trying to clear their bookshelves.
I have cut Amazon out of my purchasing diet.
No, I'm talking eBay.
eBay is where I go for everything.
Right, but even on eBay, if you're looking for a copy of a single book, they're going to go, okay, it's $25, because the sellers out there know, oh, you're looking for this one book, so we're going to charge you, collector's price for it, even though it's a used paperback book. But then if you find somebody who's just like a bookstore, because we don't have any bookstores where I live. I have to travel an hour into LA just to be able to find a used bookstore.
Even though the
Near near Jade, excuse me. Jade lives in Peoria, Illinois. For those of you in our Midwestern audience, I'm going to send you to a place in Forsyth, Illinois, which is a little burb north of Decatur. There is a 2-acre Morton steel building called the Book Barn.
Oh, yes.
The Book Barn on northern Decatur ass end is probably the best place I've ever found any book that I've been hunting for, because before I discovered the internet, before I had the chance to get into used book purchasing, that place made me a believer. And
We used to have a place called the Book Baron, and it was not just books but CDs and vinyl. And ever since that went out of business, California is really not a lot of bookstores, just not a lot.
The markup for books in California would have to be huge to be able to compete with your utilities and rent and taxes. There'd be no need.
Yeah,
there really would not. And I don't want to say that, but man, you really, when you're looking for something like, a certain book, you have to go to the internet if you live in California.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend I recommend a move, but you're going to have to go about 500, 600 miles to be free. Much like Jade, he was almost out. He was almost in the Missouri state line within the tax haven, but he turned around.
Family.
Yeah,
I know.
Same here. Otherwise, we'd be gone tomorrow, or at least packing tomorrow.
I mean, I tried to get a job in St. Louis.
For everybody out there listening, from now on, if you're looking for a book, just go for lots of books that have that book in it, and the difference is night and day.
I mean, a lot of books nowadays, I'm talking about like hardcover good quality books, but still they're like $30, $40 when it's much cheaper to get. It's not even just cheaper, but it's more efficient.
You saw my video on John Carter, huh? Omni-Owl?
Another place you can go for books is stores like Half Price Books. There's, I know a St. Louis, 3 St. Louis locations.
Crafty, cool.
And I think there's some locations in the Chicago area as well.
Hey, Cal.
There's a lot of places you can get really great prices on books.
I haven't seen a better price than buying a pile of books from somebody who doesn't know what they have.
Oh, yeah.
Another part of the problem is, like, for example, some of the pulp stuff that I like, Doc Savage and Shadow. There's this guy out there, Razor Fist. You guys know him?
Yes.
We'll talk about him later. But he did a bunch of reviews and talking about the pulp era and how it's so much better than and inspired all of the things that we love, which he's 100% right. But because of him, the bastard, we're paying premium price for things that nobody really cares about. They think, oh, what you want? The Shadow number 17, up $25. Or Doc Savage number 37, same thing. It's the they figure you think it's super valuable, so we're gonna oblige you that illusion and charge you super valuable prices. Nobody cares. There's probably less than half a dozen people who even know who Doc Savage is out there. I grew up on stuff like that, and now that I'm looking for it because I didn't save them or whatever, just about anything, they're just gonna it was so aggravating for over a month, I was spending most of my time looking through online bookstores and Amazon and just mostly just random online bookstores I'd never heard of. And not only do they not have anything but Lust in the Dust books or crap that you don't want to read, the current bestsellers and things like that, they don't even know what science fiction is unless it's Star Wars or Star Trek. It's just, where did they all go? Someone out there's got a huge collection, or lots of somebody's got a huge collection of great books. And yeah, that's right, Omni. We're going to actually do all of the John Carter games and a bunch of other surprise John Carter stuff this month. That's all we're doing is John Carter, Edgar Rice Burroughs, the whole month. We did Tarzan today, and it's my month. I get to pick what we're doing, so that's what we're doing.
Even though I did come up with something really stupid that we could have done last month, but
he helped me find out what we're going to do next month, which is actually going to be pretty interesting too.
Oh, by the way, I remember Grave Slug. I believe you asked him about Zelazny.
Oh yeah. That's my favorite author.
Yeah.
Favorite author of all time. I got to meet Roger Zelazny when I was a kid. He was a really cool guy. I got to hang out with him for an hour after everybody got their autographs and stuff. And since I was smart enough to hang out with him while he was waiting for his ride, he was the coolest guy I've ever met.
He passed back in the 80s, didn't he?
You know what? I'm not sure exactly what he passed, but I told this story a while ago. I used to have the Middle Earth card game, that really big collectible card game. And one of the cards in it, I was opening up a new booster pack, and I was looking at the cards, and one of them had like a mention of his passing and what year, and I'm like, this is how I find out? Seriously? This is how I'm going to find out my favorite author died, was from a pack of Lord of the Rings cards? It was just surreal at the time. And Man of War, Neighbor of the Beast. I know what movie you're talking about. Growing up as a kid, I watched all the Ron Ely, everything. It was just, what else was there? You want Tarzan way before Christopher Lambert did The Greystoke, which was actually pretty decent if you like, that sort of thing.
He played a good Greystoke.
Yeah. Just it's really amazing when you think, how blind he was for most of his career. What he was able to do without eyes. Jade, you didn't know that?
Nope.
Highlander? You know what we're talking about, right?
So I have only seen Highlander in passing for maybe about 30 minutes worth of the film, the first film.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like required being a D&D player. That like,
No, to me, what's required reading is Here with a Thousand Faces.
Okay, I haven't read that.
So here I've talked about it before on stream, but Hero of a Thousand Faces is it's a book about how we tell stories and where our stories come from. And it's actually it's not a piece of fiction. It's more of a introspective look at humanity as a whole and where our stories come from and how old some of the stories are and how we retell said stories through the ages.
Yet another heresy. And what am I supposed to check out on Discord there, Crafty?
Crafty is saying something about the DMR pile.
And yeah, he was Raiden in the Mortal Kombat movie, and he was someone else too, wasn't he? In Beowulf or something like that too.
That's science fiction Beowulf. Jade, your interwebs. No.
And believe it or not, you guys are going to hate me for this. When it comes to Highlander, I hate to admit this, but Highlander 2 was my favorite.
Wait, which version of Highlander 2?
The really sci-fi, weird, off the wall, just crazy one. The one that everybody hates.
Okay.
With the guys flying around on those discs and everything.
Yes, I remember. that.
I just liked it. I don't know why. Maybe I was in a sci-fi zone at the time.
It's all right. I watched He-Man, Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren and Frank Welker. No, not Frank Welker. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
You know, I just watched it not even 2 months ago. I watched the whole movie, and I'm like, this isn't that bad, and it's a lot less, of a commercial than, the other stuff.
Yes.
You are a lucky man, Crafty. I know what you're talking about. I'm looking for that as well as the book of art. Oh man, I wish I could find a copy of that, but it's like $200 for this book of all the Edgar Rice Burroughs art throughout the ages. Oh. Yeah, you're a lucky man. But then again, I saw that other book you showed off last week. Oh my goodness. That's an expensive book.
Jade, have you played a lot of board games in the last 5 or 6 years?
That's a loaded question, you know it.
Yeah, I can tell.
So my wife and I have a collection of over 100 board games, and we play a lot of them. Is there one you're specifically looking into or questioning?
Now, the reason why I was asking is you play with your wife. Shadow plays the sun. I'm going to get 3 recommendations for quality board game night with family that you would recommend. Somebody has only $150 of expendable income per year. How do you get them on that Franklin and a half budget to where they probably would start culling other things if it meant they would get more time, more quality time to be together?
If I'm going to limit it to 3 board games or tabletop games, man,
And we even go with a $300 budget because board games are expensive right now.
Expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, even keeping it 150.
Yeah,
I
could.
could probably keep it at 150. I would have to say, especially, I mean, for any age audience. Actually, I'm gonna go grab the board game real quick. It's called Kadama Forest. It came out fairly recently. As soon as I see it, I will grab it. Again, I've got 100 board games, and it's in this collection somewhere. Let's see here. That one's not. No, that one's a bit complicated.
I know you'd like that one.
Where is my copy of Kadama Forest? Oh, there it is. Okay. And I'm also going to grab that one while I'm thinking about it, because Connell brings this one up a lot. It's a great family game. Let's see here.
Which one would you pick? The big S or the big H?
Okay, so this is Kadama Forest. It came out, let's see here.
Awful cute looking.
Yeah, this came out in 2020. My wife and I played this at Gen Con. We were walking around, we sat down at a table. We're like, hey, this is a cute game. Teach us this game. So they taught us the game, and it's a cooperative, competitive game. And that sounds like a contradiction, and it kind of is. You're not playing on one board with this game. You're playing on 2 boards. You're playing on one board to your right with the person to your right. You're playing on one board to the left with the person to your left. And the both of you have to work together to fill in the board, all the red spaces on the board. The goal, I'm going to get this out as close to the camera as I can. All that red space, as you fill it in, you're trying to get as little points as possible. And you do so by filling in those red spaces. So I do recommend this game. It's a great family game. It's 3 to 6 players. It takes about 30 minutes. Ages 14 and up are recommended, but others can enjoy it as well. So that's game number 1. I think this game cost us, around 40 or 50 bucks. Keeping that tradition, Sheriff of Nottingham. Great game for, I do believe it's 3 to 5 players. Takes about 35, 45 minutes, and you can actually get into role playing with this. So each person takes a turn being the sheriff, and you go 3 rounds, and you're trying to sneak stuff into the town of Nottingham. And the stuff you're trying to sneak in is contraband. However, if you get caught by the sheriff, your entire collection gets, well, taken from you. And your goal is to earn money. And if, well, the sheriff can confiscate your goods, you can't earn money. It's a great game. Again, Connell brings that one up a lot, the Cigar GM. Suro's not bad. Ooh, there's one right there. I love this game. It is a bit harder for some to grasp, but this game is also really great. This one might break that $150 budget with the other 2, but this is Call to Adventure. I actually recommend this for anyone who wants to get into tabletop RPGs, because this can be a character generator. You start to play this game, it plays through 3 ages or 3 acts, kind of like the 3-act structure of narrative writing. You start with your history or your background. You get a kind of a path to go on for your second age, and you have a secret destiny that only you know about that you're going towards. And as you play through this game, you collect pieces of your story along the way. So yeah, this one's a really great game. I love it. And that's my top 3 picks for a family night. Because even this one, even though it's competitive play, it can be very fun and engaging with others. Because at the end, once all points are calculated, you don't reveal who the winner is. You let everyone tell their character's story, and then you reveal who the hero was, or who the winner was. So that's my 3 picks. It might be, those 3 combined might be about $180, $200 worth of board games right there.
Okay.
Okay, before we go into ours, I've never played Dune, but I've seen entire villages destroyed over a game of diplomacy. That game is legendary. I can imagine Dune would be similar, but the fist fights that I've seen in game stores over diplomacy is like I said, legendary. Now,
Diplomacy is my favorite game I can't play.
Which one?
Diplomacy is my favorite game I cannot play.
Yeah, I've never even played it. As a kid, I was 14 years old, working in a game store, and we had a game room next door to it. And I would watch the old guys, the old hippies, just go absolutely insane. When the day before they were playing Dungeons and Dragons together, now they won't speak to each other.
That's Dune and
diplomacy.
diplomacy. That those 2 games are legendary at shattering friendships.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff, because people get tied up in that. They will deal with their kid abusing their privileges or leaving lights on or whatever, but they get to the game store and it's time to submit your turns, and then you stand around and wait, and then the game master comes and shuffles all the push pins into all the locations where the moves take place. And you have a fight. You get to watch a fight right there, and you get like these 55-year-old guys wearing brown pleated pants from the 1970s, and they're about ready to square off and start dropping atomic elbows on each other. It's great.
Yeah, Travis, that game room was full of hippies. That's all I'm going to say. Now we probably only got 2 games that we'd recommend for like a real family where you got male and female players because a lot of the games we play, a lot of girls, a lot of women, either they're really really into it or they want nothing to do with it, and unfortunately we're stuck in the latter half of that category here at the Shadow household, but either the old or the new Hero Quest, I find them both pretty much almost identical word for word. The original or new Hero Quest, you could probably pick it up for $1.25. It's got a lot of replayability in it, and it's a real good gateway to maybe role playing. Because you get the idea. You know, town dungeon, town dungeon. That sort of rinse and repeat thing, and then you just explain to the people interested that in Dungeons and Dragons or other role playing games, all of those things have more involved with them. There's more story, there's more interaction with other people. It's not just kill monsters, resupply, kill monsters, resupply, rinse, repeat. But the other game that we play the most of, take it away, man.
Oh, the other game that we mostly play is Shadows of Brimstone, as you can probably tell by the fact that the majority of what we have here is Shadows of Brimstone.
In this room, yes.
I think in the entire room, the majority, at least 50% of everything in this room is Shadows of Brimstone.
No, down below.
Okay, not including
that's
the books.
That's hundreds of games down there. It's a similar game to Hero Quest, but it's a lot more detailed, a lot more story. Not a lot of story.
Not entirely. I've seen some people. What's it called? I forgot. But I've seen some added to it, but usually by third parties. There isn't much to it in that regard.
Yeah. But it has female characters. It has more that would entice a female player, let's say, as opposed to Hero Quest, where you got an elf, a barbarian, a dwarf, and a wizard, and I think the new version they might have some female sculpts, but in Shadows of Brimstone, there's a lot more visual appeal to it, and for about $100, you can get the base game that'll give you, I want to say, 6 scenarios that you can play that are more or less replayable, kind of.
They are.
And the ability to make up new scenarios or just, but both of them, well, Hero Quest is competitive, one versus whatever. You guys all know that. But Shadows is a more cooperative dungeon dive board game, but it's not, medieval. It's Western that can go to different worlds. If you like it, you can expand upon it and get other expansions that have different, worlds, like the volcanic world of Cinder.
And technically speaking, you don't even need to do those because, it would take a lot of work, which we were attempted, but...
Yeah. But there's so much to, build upon it if the family enjoys it. And like I said, it's about $100 buy-in, lots of miniatures to paint and put together, so you can get the family involved with putting stuff together, painting, then playing and discussing, if you like the game, well, what expansion do we get next? I could see it being, especially like a family of 4, mom, dad, 2 kids, everybody could get involved, everybody's got their part to play, and it would make for a great gateway into role playing or other games, I guess, or more painting, or maybe even like some of the crafts and terrain we build and stuff like that. But that's maybe probably too far off to the side there. But those are the ones we play the most. We have played some more aggressive, like Ogre and Aeronautic Imperialis, and
we should do again.
Yeah, and Epic Space Marines and things like that. But those tend to be really nerdy male versus male games. I don't think I've ever seen a a woman play Epic Space Marines or anything like that. It just doesn't seem to have any appeal in that respect. But those would be our go-to games.
So I calculated it up using Amazon and Target numbers, and the 3 board games I mentioned are $97 in total.
That's not bad.
Oh, not bad at all.
Tell us about Pandemic, because we've kind of been eyeballing that.
Ooh, you want to talk about that there, Jade?
Okay, so yeah, Pandemic. My wife and I started playing Pandemic quite some time ago, and we really enjoyed the game. And it's a cooperative game. So you and all the players around the table are working together to stop mass pandemics. And there's 4 pandemics happening at once, not just one.
Oh.
Each region has its own pandemic. So you've got the blue region, the yellow region, the red, and the black region. And you're racing against the clock or against time to find a cure for all 4 diseases all at the same time. And as you play the game, certain things will happen. Outbreaks will happen between cities. And when an outbreak happens, it sends cubes or the disease basically to neighboring cities or connected cities, which can be really bad, especially if you get a bunch of disease in one area. Like you have 3 cities that are really on the verge of outbreak, all 3 of them are, and then they can just chain react, and it causes you to lose the game so fast. Yes, naming the diseases it can be part of the game. Now my wife and I also have legacy versions of this game. The legacy play is not for the faint of heart. It is permanent changes to the board. I don't know if you're familiar with legacy, but when you play a legacy game, as you play the game, it is basically a story that's happening in the game, and as you play, you make permanent changes along the way. Like for example, there was one legacy game where we had to use the nuclear option on a city because it was that bad of a situation where there was no hope of that city ever coming back, and
We had to nuke them.
Yeah. So this might be spoiler territory, but you know what? You've had your chance. The game's over 5 years old at this point. In Legacy Season 1, you're basically fighting against a zombie horde. That's the virus. You are fighting against the zombie virus. And we had to nuke a city to stop the zombies. It sucked. So yeah, Pandemic, man, I could go on and on. I played Pandemic for days. We haven't, unfortunately, because, well, 2020 was a thing, and it's still a thing. But man,
what was the game you used to
I
play?
don't remember.
The with the diseases.
It's been so long.
He used to play a video game.
I actually never played it.
Plague
because
Inc.
Yeah, Plague Inc.
Yes.
There you
Yes,
go.
it's the
you played it.
inverse of
I did.
Pandemic.
Didn't
It's the what?
It's the inverse or opposite of Pandemic, where instead of trying to cure diseases, you're
Oh, yeah,
making
yeah,
a
yeah.
disease to wipe
Right.
out the world. My wife played that one before we played Pandemic as well.
Okay, let me hit some of these chats real quick because you guys had me laughing. Cal, yes, drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad and
I don't know about a new starter for Shadows of Brimstone. If there is, that's news to me.
I think there's going to be because you have the Swamps of Death, then you have Targa, City of the Ancients, and then Forbidden Fortress. I believe in the next one. Technically, isn't Temple of Shadows kind of a starter? Not really.
No, you have to have one of the 2 base games.
So it's just the characters.
Yeah.
And no missions, no.
Mhm.
Okay. I thought it did have some monsters.
And Travis, I totally agree. I can't find your. Yeah, don't wear the mask. don't get the shot, I win. Yeah, same here. Naming it, there was somebody else I wanted to hit up. You know what? I mean, I was watching a video about Rebellion that actually kind of looks a bit of fun. If you play it, let us know before I drop that kind of money. Because I haven't played a good Star Wars game, and the last good Star Wars game I played was, of course, what the heck was it called?
I don't know what one you're talking about.
The Xbox game that we can't play.
Oh, how do I not know that?
What was that Xbox Star Wars game?
It wasn't actually Xbox. It was
Yeah.
just was it Xbox? I don't think
There were
was
several Xbox.
The
Yeah,
best
no.
one. The really good
Knights of the
RPG.
Republic.
Yes, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably my favorite video game, or second favorite video game of all time. And I don't have an Xbox, but I still kept the game, and I want the little guy to play it because it's.
I played a few of it. I played a small bit of it on mobile.
Yeah, it's a fantastic role playing game.
That's what
Okay.
the game board looks like for Pandemic.
Okay.
Each one of those cities is a potential outbreak of a disease. I think the thing that makes this game fun is it is a race against time to save people or save humanity from the diseases. And it is a true co-op game. If you're not working together with the people at the table, it's not going to go well.
Okay.
Sounds like something we should do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I notice that every time we go into like Target or Walmart, in the microscopic game sections that exist now, that's one of the only games there, and it seems like people just don't want to touch it because of what we're going through. So it's like $20 or something like that.
I think it's a great game. My wife and I actually competed in a tournament qualifier for championships to be able to go to the world championship for it back in 2018 during Gen Con. And then they've got spin-off versions of it, Rapid Response and a couple others. So
thanks, Indigo. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find that maybe at a decent price. That sounds fun.
It's worth
Of course, I'll never get to play the Empire.
Things will change. Your son will bring back children that are ready to play. Dad, they're ready to enter the bunker. I've told him all about our habits and hobbies. We have 3 days before we have to go back to class for vocational training or whatever school you send him to. That's a really good game right there, Lords of Waterdeep. I'm gonna do my three board games real quick.
Go for it.
Shadows over Camelot. It's a classic game from about the late 90s, early 2000s, where you are all playing a Knight of the Round Table. And as the game starts off, you get cards, and either you are loyal to the Knights of the Round Table, or you're a renegade, a rogue knight, and you're seeking to undo the good they do. So there's multiple ways that you can lose the game. You can lose the game because the Picts and the barbarians get at the gate,
Mm-hmm.
and they batter it down. There's represented by catapults every turn, one's added. Then you have the fact that you have Morgana, who is going around and screwing people over. And I'm talking from experience from playing the one expansion that they released for it as part of the main game. It's a campaign game that will last you 3 to 5 hours. And then you have her doing things to make it more elusive to find the Grail. And once you get the Grail can help you, but not very much, because you still have to have everybody pulling their weight. And somebody is a rogue knight, and they're doing everything they can to destroy the game, destroy the sanctity of the table, and ruin Britannia.
Hmm.
But it takes about 3 to 5 hours to play. And if you have 8 people, that's about optimal. I know that sounds really bad, but it is an optimal game with 8 people.
Like
Mike?
Twilight Imperium, the more players, the better the game.
I look at that game and I read the deluxe handbook, and I can't wait. I just need to have players.
For Twilight?
For Twilight.
Same here. Yeah, and I paid I want to say I paid like $10 for it on eBay. Not
What
kidding.
was that? 3rd edition or 2nd?
I'm pretty sure it's 3rd edition, and I've yet
Okay.
to play it. I've yet to play it. It looks like a blast, but getting that many people to come over and having a big enough table, etc.
Yes.
And your second and third?
My second most favorite game I already discussed. It's Diplomacy. You don't play this in a place you love. If you have a gaming store that you consider disposable, that you wouldn't mind to see it go away. Maybe they play too much Pokemon. I don't know, but I mean, if you have a couple of game stores and one of them is in a good location with good parking, go ahead and set it up there to play. You'll get about 12 to 20 players, and you have to have somebody be the educator to tally up all the votes every turn. But the game is absolutely vicious, and you will find out real quick who's good at lying and who's not. And it's just it's a learning experience. If you're a gamer, if you're good at diplomacy, you're in an elite circle. I'm not in that circle yet, but I've got to say that is probably my second favorite board game. And my last favorite board game is another cerebral game like what Scoundrels of Skullport and Lords of Waterdeep is. My favorite board game is a game called Dominant Species, where everybody is assigned to various species at the start of the game, be it avians, reptiles, amphibians, or mammals, insects, or spiders. And you start this game on a hex map, and the game builds hexes as you go along. And you place your workers to improve your initiative, to improve the amount of speciesification that you have going on, i.e., your animals are procreating. You have the option to assign a couple workers if you like to knock out other workers on certain hexes so you can upset the balance or maybe get control. Getting control of a hex means that you've tallied victory points, which is the reason why you do all these things. You get victory points so you can score and you can outclass your opponent. The problem with the game is it will make your brain hurt. There's about 7 or 8 different paths to victory. It is not cooperative. It is a very territorial game, and it's probably my favorite.
Sounds brutal.
It is. It's great, and it teaches you a lot about various ways that certain biomes are great for certain types of creatures, and other biomes are not truly favorable for them at all.
When was that published?
2006 or 7, I think.
Okay.
Dominant Species is a GMT game. GMT Games makes really good games, but their production quality isn't really high. The highest it gets is you get little wooden cubes. Lots of cards, lots of chits.
Is that what you want me to do?
Oh,
Thanks,
Cigar
Indigo.
DM.
We'll try to find 2 other players.
Yes, I want to bring in Cigar DM, but I do want to note that it is after 9:45, and I can't have this stream go on for much longer because Shadow and Sun's ticker is coming. The child will turn into a pumpkin. Hello, Cigar DM. How are you?
Well, it's only 7:43 here.
Oh.
Time zones,
Oh.
they're a thing.
Hey, Cigar, what's happening, man?
Hey, finally got a cigar this time.
Hey, you know what? I got one too.
That's
That's called cheating.
That's awesome. Where did he pick that up at?
Do you guys have the Halloween store Spirit?
Yeah.
Only in October. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I got this last year.
that'd be like a cool Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver, only it's a sonic cigar.
Yep. And I don't know how you put. Oh yeah, the batteries go in there. I was like, I wasn't sure where the batteries went, but yeah, it was like $5.
Hey,
Guarantee it'll come in handy.
$5,
If-
man. Put that shit in my hand if that money doesn't show you. Oh. Anyways,
If only to just piss people off, walking into a supermarket or a mall with this thing going, just to irritate people.
oh, I like irritating people. Ask Jade.
By the way, it's my son. If you haven't met before,
Hello. I refuse to call any kid that's not my son. Does he have a name?
yeah,
Yes.
You have an
Oh,
online name that you
named
prefer.
Jackson.
Jackson.
Jackson? Nice to meet you, Jackson. I hate it when anybody calls me son, so I refuse to do it to anybody else.
No worries. We just have never said his name on the air before.
Actually,
Oh.
that is entirely
We
true.
did it once in the very first episode.
That I don't remember.
Yeah,
But-
but
yeah.
we feel safe with you guys.
That's probably a
There
mistake.
you go.
Anyways,
Don't even sweat it, man.
I just
If anybody wanted to dox the little guy, all they have to do is watch the very first episode. And
I
if they
put
wanted
the,
to dox him, they'd have to,
yeah, I see.
get through a whole lot of lead.
That's more than fair.
People that dox are susceptible to pain. So we have pigs and javelinas.
I mean, my name's been spread across table breakers even before I joined. So
Well, you're a popular DM where you're at.
yeah, apparently,
It's just mostly for his mom's sake, when we first started doing this, she, wants to be, safe.
So I was actually thinking the other day, Jade, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this, but me and you were starting our own little channels.
Yeah.
And if you want co-channel one, me and you screwing around with making cider or mead, because I think that would be worth some laughs. And you have the space. I don't. Well, actually, I technically can brew here.
I don't actually have the space. Like,
Fine, we'll brew here. Well, I'll just
I was
blame it
gonna
on
say,
my neighbor.
I can't. I've already had that discussion. The answer is no.
Real quick, guys, mead's made out of honey, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I have never tried it, always wanted to, and you guys know I don't drink, but I think I could make an exception for something like
There
that.
are so
There are a
many
lot.
great mead breweries out there. Technically, I'm not going to say which one I think is best on the market because it always changes from bottle to bottle. That sounds horrible. Anyways, but a good one out there, it's a little bit expensive, but the jar is cool, is called Viking's Blood. And that's a fortified mead, but it's still really, really tasty.
When you say fortified meat, does that mean there's like vitamins and minerals that you should be having anyway?
Yeah, it's called vodka.
No.
Hey, the Irish make vodka too. It's okay.
Hey, Cigar, since I'm Irish and Russian,
Yeah.
does that mean that my addiction to all things potatoes is hereditary?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's like half Russian, half Russian, and half Irish. Jeez. So one side of you loves to drink, and the other side doesn't want to pay for it. I'll let you figure out which side is that.
And both sides love to fight.
Yeah.
That's my potato, damn it. I've never met a potato I didn't like, so.
That sounds like my wife. She could have potatoes for every dinner from here to the end of eternity. She'd be happy.
Well, during the potato famine, the potato was considered a full meal because it technically had everything in it that you need, which is not true, but that's what they thought at that time.
Yeah.
Plus, the skin technically has one 1.00000% nicotine in it. So if you're a smoker, it still works for you.
No wonder. No wonder. I am a smoker, as you guys know. And
Or it would actually be 0.1. Yeah, it's minute. It's so, yeah.
I'm a big fan of potato. I'll just say that.
Well, you could dress up as one for Halloween. I mean, you're already bald.
I could. You're right. But then I wouldn't leave the house because my wife would be like, "Oh, I gotta devour this one."
So what are we talking about tonight?
Kids and families and gaming.
Wow, that sounds like I started this nonsense last week.
You did.
But that's fine. There's
I'm
nothing
looking at
wrong with
all the
reading-
games above Shadow's head, and I recognize maybe 2 of them.
That's because we need to get you affiliated with capitalism, and we need you to be able to get like 2 games every season.
Yeah.
that's just a drop in the bucket there, Cigar. There's
Actually, I was at Just for Fun, which is a local game shop here where I'm from, and they set the standard for me when it comes to game shops, and just how nice it's clean inside. B, the guy who runs it is fair on everything, and on the door says no shoes, no shoes, no shirt, no soap, no business. And right there, that makes it a grade A game shop.
Yeah, there's a reason that sign had to be there. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
into specifics.
we were just talking about hippie gamers a minute ago.
But they have the new team that just dropped is like 300. Well, technically
I know, isn't it
$400.
insane? That's absolutely insanity.
They have a not unpainted one going for 200, and I'm thinking, I could use a project, and my birthday is like in 5 months.
Hey, have you noticed that the Whiz Kids have upped the price on all their gargantuan dragons to almost doubled?
Well, yeah. Well, the classic, the Red Dragon, Colossal Red Dragon that came out 20 years ago almost.
Yeah.
Went from $75. It goes now for $600.
Now I'm just talking like the regular unpainted.
Oh,
Yeah, the unpainted. We have all but the Red Dragon. I was gonna get it. I went over to Miniature Market because they're the cheapest place in town. I knew it would be $25. I go there, it's $60.
Miniature. I've seen that site on the internet, Miniature Market, if it's the same one.
It's the best place to shop. Even with the price hikes that have gone on recently because of the inflation, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
If you spend $100, free shipping, and
Oh, wow.
pretty much everything there is 10, 20, sometimes even 70% cheaper than anywhere else.
Oh, wow. Well, I like to support my local shop owners as much as I can, but I'll definitely have to give that site a check.
The only thing I'll warn you about is if you go with the free shipping, don't be in a hurry to get what you're getting because it will take 2 weeks. But if you want to spend a little bit extra, I've never done that. I'm
Gotcha.
cheap when it comes to nice sword rack.
That is absolutely gorgeous front to back. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have that here in the fine state of Illinois.
They will ship it to you.
Oh, are you talking about this? Oh, hold on. Where's the camera? This Red Dragon?
I think it's just the regular unpainted gargantuan Red Dragon. A couple of weeks ago it was $25, but it's pretty sizable. It's about a little bit smaller than a volleyball.
Damn. Okay,
Yeah.
I do a sport called DAG here, and I'm looking at garb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Night Watch Games in San Antonio, Texas. You just stream at their store. I would walk through the last 3 minutes of every video. We would walk through there, and I'd tell people this is where you want to game. This is where you want to be if you're a gamer. And then
Wow.
in 2019, GAMA, the World Trade Association for Gaming Retailers, GAMA they're bigger than Origins. There's more money there than at Origins. Gamma said, you are the #1 store retailer for 2019. Everybody wants to demo at your store. So
For good
I'm
reason,
just
too.
saying that if you're going to be in the area, you don't have to come and visit Bruce, but you do need to go visit Night Watch Games.
If I'm ever in Texas, it's going to be for 3 things. There's a cigar con down there that I've been wanting to go to since I was like hit Jackson's age, and visit you. And I think me and you could spend probably a couple hours there, Bruce, and be happy people afterwards.
Yeah, I'd have to take some miniatures and paint there, though.
I don't think I'd be in a hurry to leave.
They got a new bunker. One of our guys had a new Braunfels, Tom. Tom used to lead a paint shop class. And the guy was just amazing with the paintbrush, but sadly he died in 2020 in November. And I've got to say that I would love to go there and spend a few hours a week helping new people paint. I'm not as good as Tom, but damn it, I would try.
I'll tell you what, Bruce, if you find out that they pay DMs, let me know. I'll think about moving.
No shit, huh? I actually got my start gaming when I was 14 at this place called the Unicorn's Lair, and I actually got paid to Dungeon Master back in the 80s for going on 2 years, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Constant stream of brand new, complete stranger players who would, often, come back, if they, like to DM, and it was just amazing. I would have hung out there even if they didn't pay me to Dungeon Master, but just because Dungeons and Dragons,
Right. What was I going to say? Being a paid DM, being a DM in general, you learn so many different experiences, so many more tools for the tool chest. But being a paid DM and working at a shop, the leveling up as a DM, the XP is nothing like it else in the gaming world.
Yeah, and they got puppers.
Yeah,
those are some pretty dogs.
He's husky, and she's Malamute.
I love those dogs, but I would not have them down in Texas. It is just too damn hot.
Well, there's something that I'm going to tell you. That store makes enough cheddar to where they can have the dogs park underneath an air conditioning register.
Yeah.
And they will move. And they will move only in winter. They will move in wintertime. They will go outside gleefully, much to the owner's chagrin. I don't want to go out today. We're going out for 2 hours, aren't we?
I guess so.
Oh God. Okay. If I win the $1.6 billion lottery that was in Tennessee like 4 years ago, I would A, be building a shop that looks something like this, or B, just moving next door.
There's still a lot of space in Texas you can inherit, you can go to.
I just living in Texas. I think my mouth would just get me into too much trouble.
So does this place have like gaming tables and?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They have huge gaming tables. They got tables that run the length of the main floor. They've got 4 main private areas or more private areas. They've got one called the Bunker, Tom's Shrine, as we call it. And they've got a board game room. They've got 2 private gaming rooms that are $40 and $60 for 4 hours. But you get a complete kit. If you want to stream it from in there, they have the wiring and hookups that you can do. They've got smoke machines, all of that.
Yeah. Travis, I completely understand. There are 3 places in America I've heard have the nicest of women. One of them I call bullshit because I actually spent time there, but the other 2, no. I would definitely agree. One would be Texas. The other place was Georgia, and Tennessee.
Yeah, we got Great Pyrenees. For some odd reason, people think the Mountain Dog's the way to go over here. How big is that store? Probably close to about 3,200 square feet. Not bad. It's pretty good size. They've had wakes, they've had funerals, they've had weddings there.
Wow.
Well, when I die, I know where I want my wake.
As much as I love that place, I haven't found a bar that's suitable yet. Oh wait, never mind. Callahan's Pub in New Braunfels. There we go.
Callahan's. I did not know they were a franchise.
Nope, they're not. Callahan's Pub is actually off the owner's name. He lives in Austin, and he's got a little pizza pub in New Braunfels, and it is fan-freaking-tastic.
Well, there was a Callahan's here in Illinois. That's why I said something.
I understand. So, Cigar DM, what is your... I know you game with the daughter a bit. What is her game of choice?
My daughter's?
Yeah.
Hold on. We actually played it today. I failed at this game in real life, but I seem to do okay on the board game.
I knew you were going to say that.
This right here is one of her favorite games. I don't do too shabby at this one. I just suck at it in real life. And her other one I got her for Christmas, because my daughter is a cat person, is this one. I'm one of those weird fathers that will, my daughter says she wants a board game or something that's outside the norm, I'll go for it. Just, I like to make my kid happy.
Hell yeah.
So, and earlier we did play this game. Jenga, actually, if I can.
Okay.
I used to play this game a lot in college. But instead of using the boards, we would get cardboard and shot glasses. And we had to pull out each of the shot glasses and take that shot. It made the game a whole lot more interesting.
Okay.
I will say this: your copy looks a lot newer than my copy.
Would you get that from a museum?
Actually,
Is
I
that like
got this-
1960s version?
I think this is the 1970s.
Mainly those two.
Yeah, I think 1977.
Damn.
Great year.
19
Great year.
Look at those hairstyles. Oh, I'm so glad I have my Bob Ross wig.
Yeah, so I actually got this after my grandmother passed away. This was in her collection, so I've kept it since then.
I wouldn't part with that if I were you, man.
Actually, game-wise, it was funny. I was over at a friend of mine's. I play Starfleet Battles with him and Babylon 5, and he had me go through his game collection, and he has the old red box for D&D.
The old magenta.
Yeah.
I wish I would have kept my Bab 5 stuff. I regret it, but I got it dirt cheap. I mean, a ton of the miniatures, and I turned it around and made like $2,000.
Well, my buddy, one of my buddies that I play with on Tuesday, he just dropped $900 for all the miniatures for Babylon 5 that has to be put together and painted, and he's wondering if I will work on commission just to prime them. And there's like over 1,000 pieces. I'm like, yes, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm. I think I kept a couple of ships. One is that monster size. I'm not sure if it's a space station, but it rotates in the center. But it's like almost a foot long. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know why I kept it, but I did.
So far, I'm really liking playing shadows just because they can suck up so much damage in those tentacles.
Yeah. I've yet to sit the little guy down to watch it, but I guarantee if he can make it through the first season, he's gonna love it.
That first season's rough.
Yeah, it is.
So, are you actually wearing a suit and tie there?
He
Yes.
most certainly is. Yes,
Good on you. Good on you.
been doing it since day one of the channel, man. Not every single episode, but he's a snazzy dresser, and not not like his old man. I'm wearing my Player's Handbook T-shirt.
I have I love wearing suit and ties. When I wasn't forking out as much money as I am now, there's a picture of me. I was at a Christmas dinner, and I lovingly call it my mafia picture because I'm thinner. I'm wearing a black pinstripe tie with black shirt with a red tie, like blood red. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with a good suit and tie. I'll be Barney in this one.
It was his idea from the beginning, and if you look back at the old videos when he was, much smaller, he's grown like 1.5 feet in a year and a half.
Yeah, this one specifically, I was not looking for this one. I thought it was a different one because this used to pretty much, when we first started, this one I'm wearing right now went down to the floor.
Nice.
How it fits.
Now, when you do these pod things, I'll see if I can find them. But there are D&D/Pathfinder related ties.
Okay.
And
I've worn a tie 3 times in my life.
Oh man,
times.
it's like having a noose around my neck every time I put one on. I'm not going to count how many times I had to wear a tie. I went to a Catholic school, so there was a lot of tie wearing.
Count.
Right.
I lost count.
That explains so much about you.
What, me going to a Catholic school?
Yeah, you going to Catholic school. Like, okay, I forgive you now.
That's okay. I won't.
Hey, I know where you live.
Yep, sure do.
Actually, I was talking about we're talking about Babylon 5. No, Starfleet, the old Starfleet game that came out in the 70s, gives you the ability of making your own races. Mm-hmm. So I've been telling them, like, I want to build a ship that's like no bigger than this. It looks like a phone booth from like the 60s, the early 20s. And they're like, yeah, what kind of weapon does it shoot? It shoots black hole weapons. What do you mean black hole weapons? It creates a black hole.
And they're like, the term you're looking for is point singularity projector.
Yeah. They're like, that's not from Doctor Who. I'm like, you're absolutely right. That's from Farscape.
I thought that fired wormholes, not black holes.
No, it was a black hole.
Okay. I was thinking
whatever you guys want to say about Farscape. I love the fact that it still used real practical effects like Jim Henson's puppets. I love shows like that back in the day. I
was just showing him the old Sinbad movies.
Oh yeah.
I just showed him the clip of the Cyclops. And he's like, that's not that bad. And I'm like,
it isn't.
So that's
Claymation is absolutely gorgeous. I understand why we use the computer generated images. I get it, but there's nothing wrong with good old fashioned claymation or using puppets. And I mean, it's just part of movie history.
So he's in for a treat.
Yeah. Farscape is a great show. I love it. It's D&D in space, more or less.
I would argue that it's actually, what's it called? God, what system was that?
GURPS?
Not GURPS. It was a D20 system, loosely based on 3.0 rules.
Spelljammer?
No, Spelljammer was all right. Dragonstar. That's what it is. Dragonstar.
No, I actually have that. I have that book. Is that 3.5?
It's 3 or 3.5 by Mongo.
Technically 3.
I love that book. I absolutely love that book.
Yeah, I've got the Starfarer's Handbook, the Guide to the Galaxy, Smuggler's Run, and I can't remember what the fourth one was. I actually have all those books too.
The reason why I say it's an RPG in space, because the main character, you can see him leveling as the show continues on.
Well, I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I liked it, but by the time I was aware of it, so much had gone by that, I'm like, I'm gonna have to wait until it's on Netflix or something like that.
It's on Amazon. Well, it was on Amazon Prime for free if you have Amazon Prime. I've yet to torture my daughter with it. It's on the list. I just made her watch Krull last night. Krull.
Yeah, I love that. I used to have it on Laserdisc.
So next time my character dies in Bruce's campaign, I'm gonna bring out a character that throws a star-shaped weapon somehow.
A glaive? A glaive?
Yeah.
That is not a glaive. A glaive
not a
is a
glaive.
long
It's a
pointy
star knife.
stick.
It's a star knife.
We could say it's a star knife. That's fine.
I hate the fact that was called a glaive because that
Yeah,
is
even
not
back
what a
then,
glaive
I
is.
knew better. You know, I had a copy of the Player's Handbook. Come on, there's a whole useless chapter in the Player's Handbook all about the,
No, a
ridiculous
glaive
weapons
is
that players
it's
are
a
never
butcher's
using.
knife on top of his long stick. That's
Yeah,
what a
pretty
glaive
much.
is.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a long, sharp, slashy weapon on a pole. No, I think that's actually something that speaks.
Slashy
Oh,
weapons
since
on
we-
poles makes me happy. You get about 17 peasants together and get them some suitable arms and an hour's worth of training before the siege hits, and you have 30 seconds of survivability if you stand away from them.
I since we are talking about gaming with family, this is not tabletop gaming. I'm going to bring up. This is not tabletop by any means, but there's two aspects of it, and I'm going to leave the other sides of it out of it. It's called Daggy here or Belgarth. It is an RP game. People do actually role play it. It's like LARPing, but you get to hit people with foam weapons or shoot them with bows and foam tip arrows. It is good. It is good family fun, as long as you're with the right people. And for RPing, there's no experience out there like it. Plus, if you like camping, it's a good excuse to go camping.
Yep.
Killer.
Anybody remember this?
No, but I'm gonna be looking for it now.
Dark
that like
Gun.
Tag?
Yeah, this is the predecessor.
Okay, Killer is the predecessor to Tag. Okay.
As far as I know, Steve Jackson, contract killing amongst your friends.
I personally like to play amongst friends. Secret Hitler.
Okay.
It's a real game.
It's a social deduction game where slightly less than half the people playing are secret Nazis. And it's about basically trying to figure out who the secret Hitler is and stop him from coming to power, him or her from coming to power. And you have to do this through social deduction. Like each round, a policy is enacted. Now, it could be a liberal policy or a fascist policy. And based on the president and the chancellor will draw 3 policies and hand the president 2 by discarding 1. And the president then has to enact one of those 2 policies. Now, the players around the table don't know what the chancellor picked up. They don't know what options the president had. So when a policy is enacted, they have to then determine, well, the president just played a fascist policy. Are they a fascist or are they a liberal who were just dealt a bad hand? Or, vice versa, is, if the president goes, oh yeah, puts a liberal policy into play, it kind of throws suspicion off of them because it's like, oh yeah, they played something liberal instead of a fascist. Why would we have reason to suspect them? So it's a game. It takes you go in turns, and you're trying to find the secret Hitler and stop them from coming to power. So
Jade over here introduced me to that game about 2 years ago, and I've got to play it twice now, and it's really fun. Just because I've known Jade, and he's known me for a very long time. I was Secret Hitler for the first time playing it, and it was about ready to pass. Where we were, my side was about ready to win, and he yells, "Do not trust this man. I've known him for 17 years." I'm like, "Gee, thanks."
This is for a minimum of 5 players, up to 10 players, ages 17 and up, 45 minutes to play. I don't know how much copies are going for now, but this was like the #1 game in 2018.
Never heard of it.
So
think I
A
remember.
lot
hearing
of stores don't like it.
Yeah, a lot of places don't like it because it says Hitler.
It says Hitler, and then worse yet, the problem they have with majority of the time is the fact that you're taking up 17 places to sit. And the game is not exactly one where everybody's got to buy $700 in miniatures, $15 for snacks. You know, it's a very low cost game, which is
It's
great,
a party game.
except for the people at the game store that were like, I was just getting ready to sell 13 copies of Mansions of Madness.
It's as Bruce puts it, it's a good beer and pretzel game. Or if you have kids, it is a good root beer and pretzel game.
It actually sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a lot like Werewolf as well, where you're trying to find the werewolf before the entire village is dead.
Werewolf is an RP of social deduction where, like, somebody plays a oracle, somebody plays a mailman. Everybody's got a role to play, and then there's two werewolves if it's like a 12-player game. And well, there's gonna be a lot of killing.
Yeah,
Werewolf or not.
Werewolf is a really fun game when you have a large group of people. So I've actually, having been to Gen Con multiple times, I've seen people like lining the hallways, like 40 people at a time playing one game of Werewolf. And where it starts out where there's 3 werewolves against 40 or 30 other people. And it's like, okay, who's the werewolf? And after every scene, they off someone in the village, thinking that they might be the werewolf.
And really quick in chat, somebody asked me what my daughter's age is. No offense to the chat, but I am not going to say because that's under one of those lines that you all just don't need to know.
Fair enough.
Offense to anybody?
Yeah, she's nowhere near majority age.
Correct. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, so I mean, Werewolf can be a really great party game. So can Secret Hitler. Other party games.
There's also, as some people have put it, there's also that 800-pound gorilla in the corner. Cards Against Humanity and all the variations of that. I like it only because I have somewhat of a twisted humor. It's like one of the cards was what ruined my life, and I played child support, and the guy was about ready to go to court over child support, so I thought it was funny.
Another game that can be a good party game or even like a small game is Liar's Dice, also known as Pirate's Dice.
Oh my God, so many evenings hanging out at somebody's house playing that game.
Oh yeah, that game.
Three Dragon Annie.
Yep, Three Dragon Annie is a great D&D poker game. I think I've got my copies somewhere over there. I don't know.
My game of choice for that is Red Dragon Inn.
Okay.
I've yet to play that one.
Really?
I've played it.
I don't get out very much as with the plague, and the one gaming group I did have here locally is on Spaggle at the current moment. Other than my Tuesday, well, ironically, my Tuesday game. Family games. Those
if you have money, Pitch Car, but nobody here has played that before, and I've got to say, I've got a video here.
What's the other one? Tickets.
Red.
I heard that one's supposed to be a really good family game.
It is. It's a good game.
What was that one game I played with you and your beautiful wife that you told me would actually do pretty good at Gen Con? Selling and trading stuff. Coffee, indigo, sugar.
Puerto Rico. Yeah, Puerto Rico. It's an older board game. It's probably hard to find right now. Yeah, it's a game where you are now that some people might get upset by this, but you know what? I don't care because it's the way the game is. You're a plantation owner, and you are trying to set up, you're in Puerto Rico and you're trying to set up fields of crops, and you're trying to bring people in to work the fields and work your factories and whatnot, so you can ship commodities and goods. And
Well, that's a young Bruce.
A great slug. I haven't heard that game in a million years. Ants in the pants. That's great. That brings back. Oh my God.
Is that the game room?
That's the game room in Washington, Illinois.
You do?
God, that looks like Sarah. That's not Sarah, but it looks like Sarah.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Get to the gameplay, guys. Here's this giant board down here of interlocking jigsaw pieces. And I think
Is that Ralphie May?
So we're all flicking pogs across this across this table. And this is the game. Everybody goes, and then once everybody's gone, the new leader and the descent of the grid is how you have everybody take their turn. This is a great game, but nowadays the base game is like $110 if you find it. It is very fun. It is very hard to find. And this is with like 2 or 3 expansions in it. But you can play with like up to 12 people on the base game.
Damn, Bruce, you look young.
I know. I was thinner too.
I wasn't going there.
I did.
Good
Yeah.
game shops, just good game shops are just worth their weight in gold.
I have like 10 years of game store shenanigans on my channel. That was in 2009, Cal. Yeah, Pitch Car is a great game, but if you find a big lot of it, you're going to spend some money no matter what. But that is a way to buy it. If you can find somebody that's got like 2 or 3 expansions, they do have an expansion now, but it costs $150, and all it adds is a rubberized loop that you flick your pog through the loop, and the loop you can construct it as a boomerang, as an actual loop. It actually works, but it's crazy.
Or if you get lucky, you can find it at garage sales or estate sales.
It'd have to be an estate sale for somebody like me. Like, oh, this gamer died. What? I got to go there now.
What, you're not getting buried with all your figs, Bruce? I figured it'd just be great big, the hole is only supposed to be 6 feet, but because of all his gaming, we had to go an extra 13.
The Night Watch games will be receiving the majority of the figures here.
Fair enough.
You guys get to resell all the stuff I bought already. Have fun.
Yeah.
I'm almost finished on this guy. Other than that, I guess the chat isn't quite over, but the main thing I wanted to get into was like, because we don't do deep dives on Gatekeepers. We mainly talk about things where we want to keep the hobby pure as it is. And if it means that we're going back to the 1980s with 1980s isms, that's fine, because that was when a lot of us were playing the game. We had a lot of fun. We didn't care about politics in our game because we never had to worry about it. And we were trying to get back to that, but we don't do real big deep dives here. And I figured we got Shadow and Son that's, exhibited some interest on this, and he's got a child, and I would love to hear their perspective on games and gaming, because a lot of people out there have a 10 or 15-year-old and they want to be able to bring them to the table. When is
I highly recommend having kids for that sole purpose alone.
That and lawn care.
Yeah.
Jackson's going to learn how to push a mower.
Oh yeah.
I should have already.
This was many, many, many moons ago. I got in trouble for doing something in high school, and we don't really need to get into that. But for lawn care, my mom sent me outside with a ruler and a pair of scissors.
Wow.
That was like 2 months of my life I'll never get back.
Did you learn anything?
No, because I did it again a week later because the guy had it coming. Actually, I heard, Jackson, that you're into politics. I'm not bringing up politics as what's going on in the world today, but there are a couple games out there that involve politics that are really, really fun. At the current moment, I can't think of any of their names. I know I've played them over the years.
The Road to the White House.
Is it? That's probably one of them.
The Road to the White House is a 1990 release, and they still sell that over at Barnes & Noble because the guy that wrote it is a writer. He was a New York Times writer, but he had some really good game theory, and they have some pre-generated figures for you to use as your, I'm this candidate, I'm vote for me, and you go across the United States and you try to get people generated, incentives to vote for you through various things you play, the cards you get, etc. But you don't want to play with the pre-gens because there's something even better, and you can spend 90 minutes each game. Just the first 90 minutes each game, you can actually get your own character that you design, and their system is pretty well balanced at like 100 points because the pre-gens are made at 250 points, and they're just overpowered is a word that I really think goes well with the pre-gens for that game. And you don't want to play pre-gens if you can create your own, would you? No, of course not. But you want to play this game if you are interested in politics and in understanding American politics a little better, because it will teach you some things, but they're not fun lessons. I'll just say that. A good example of this put to movies would be Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
That's a classic. That is a classic that every teenager needs to watch. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Especially during your junior year of high school doing civics.
Do they still make kids do the civics class?
I don't know. I imagine so.
I think they don't, actually.
They don't?
I think they don't.
I had to do civics class, and I had to do 100 hours of volunteer work to graduate from high school a year early.
Take care, Grape Slug. Thank you for being in here all night.
Yeah, that was thanks, man.
War on Terror. Wow. That reminds me of the old game Balance of Power. Anybody here on the old Amiga or PC DOS during the early 90s? You remember Chris, I want to say it's Chris Roberts' game of the Cold War, where either you succeeded and you were able to mitigate the Cold War and stop it, or you couldn't. And you were thinking, maybe I get an ending screen where the world blows up. No, you just got this ending text where it says, I'm not going to satisfy you if you wanted to see the world burn. And that was how the game ended.
I feel like I should say this only because you brought up PC and it made me think of it. I used to play a lot of chess on PC because no one in my house played chess. They just a lot of checkers, no chess. And I think teaching your children how to play chess even today is worthwhile.
I'm pretty certain Jackson knows how to play chess.
I actually, I do know how to play chess, but not very well. So I really think that I should have by now, but I guess.
Believe it or not, my mom was really, really good at chess.
That's why I'm surprised.
Yeah, but I have just almost no interest in playing it. I know I'm gonna have to teach the little guy how to kick his old man's ass at it, but I've
been trying to learn, but
probably because
it's like Go in a sense. It's really easy to learn and a lifetime to master in that sense. Cool thing about chess, though, and I've been doing it. I'm working on it as of right now. My grandpa, before he passed away, made a bunch of checkered boards. I mean, with wood and marble and whatnot. Absolutely gorgeous. He was a state champion checker player for whatever that's worth for a couple years. So that was his game of choice. It killed him that I learned chess, not checkers. But that's besides the point. D&D figs. If you have multiple D&D figs of the same thing, they make great chess pieces, and it can get kids into it because they're playing with. You're not playing with the traditional pieces. You're playing with things that they can actually. It's like using a dragon for a king or a queen. Using whatever.
Yeah, make our own chessboard.
Using a bunch of goblins as pawns or kobolds as pawns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be a great idea for one of our craft videos. Is
That's a really good idea.
to make some chess pieces. That's a good idea.
Use a cult leader as your bishops.
Yeah, cult leaders or clerics of some kind as bishops. Yeah.
White dragons as pawns. White dragons as pawns. Yeah, white dragons as pawns. Do a Tiamat versus Bahamut chess set.
Yeah, you could definitely run the dragon types.
Or dragonborns or half dragons as pawns.
I just want to make towers for the bishops. I could do that with my Proxon or clay or any number of things.
What about the rook piece? The castle.
That's
The
what
castle?
I meant.
I'd actually use.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you say, Shadow?
That's what I meant. The rook. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'd actually just use a tower. Yeah.
Cult leaders or clerics for bishops, as he said. Kings and queens.
Knights, mounted horsemen.
Yep, mounted
Easy.
horsemen.
I've actually got a really cool Reaper undead knight that would be great if I can get another one for the knights, and then find a couple of paladins.
Or even was it like the headless horseman for the opposite side?
Yeah. I could actually. I have a headless horseman. I could have one headless horseman and one undead knight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't need a huge checkerboard, but they do exist. But undead white dragon.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
For a lich, for the king,
Oh,
and a
Sararak
Medusa for the queen.
I could definitely see a Sararak for the king piece, the demi-lich from Tomb of Horrors.
I won't be able to run forever tonight, guys. It is 10:30, and I do got to wake up early in the morning.
All right.
Yeah.
Forgive me for hopping on to as late as I did.
That's okay. The fact you hopped on is what matters. What is it?
I'm glad my son got to meet you guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on. We'll come back anytime you guys want us. Otherwise, it'll just be me. He does have obligations too, but
cool.
It's still early here.
He's a teenager. There's a school life, social life. They are important at that age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd rather him take care of his dad. Trust me, I'm seeing it now as I'm hitting the late 40s. My dad's hitting his early 70s. I'm like,
Wait. You had a dad that sticked around? What's that like? Anyways.
My old man passed away at 44, so
Oh.
he was young.
Yeah, I randomly leave Father's Day cards at whatever gas stations I'm at, just in case he bought a pack of cigarettes there. I don't know.
wow. Shadow and Son, what's the next video project you and your son are putting together?
All this month we're doing Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter related videos. We do like 5 videos a week, but tomorrow night we're doing a craft video. We do craft videos, painting videos, reviews, and
Wednesdays and Fridays.
I do a solo video.
Solo videos, yes, and
those are usually book and game reviews. So this month I'm doing all the different John Carter games, and we're going to do some John Carter related crafts to go with those games.
Travis says you should do Roger Zeleny next month.
I may do it the month after. Next month we already picked something pretty cool. Rogers, I did do the Amber Chronicles. I did a review of them, but everybody hates the diceless role-playing game from Zelazny, even though I love it. but maybe I'll find some other Zelazny stuff to review. He is my favorite author. And
There's nothing wrong with the diceless roleplay system itself. It
No,
actually
there's really not.
quite a bit. It encourages a lot.
Yeah, that's it's one of the, especially if you're a fan of the Amber books, it's one of the best real role playing games because you have to role play everything. They're really, there's not a lot to, min maxing and things like that.
Yeah. I say this jokingly and not jokingly. If you ever guys do a review on the Jim Butcher Dresden Files campaign that's done on the Fate system, I would love to join you guys that night. I'm a big Jim Butcher's fan, and I've played the game a couple different times. I'd love to hear you guys' take on it.
All right, let me write that down because I it's brand new to me. What's it called?
The Dresden.
It runs off the Fate system or Fate engine. It's called Dresden Files.
Wasn't there a TV show called that a while back?
Yes.
We don't acknowledge it.
Actually, that's not true. That's not true. I do for the pure reason is what you do not do with a good book series.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
that is a.
So it is related then.
Yes, unfortunately.
It is a perfect example of what not to do with a book series and television.
Okay, because I think I've watched like 2 episodes and I think they then yanked it.
It was only had like 8 episodes. It died quick.
Okay.
But I do recommend you guys, if you guys are readers, I do recommend you guys reading Jim Butcher, and I'll probably say this in every podcast I'm in. Jim Butcher's the first book is called Stormfront. It is a fantasy noir, Noir.
Fantasy noir.
Nor.
Yeah, noir.
It's based in modern time in Chicago, Illinois.
It's high fantasy in a modern setting, but
Okay.
it's a murder mystery fantasy in a modern setting.
So a little bit like Zelazny's Amber.
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't read that. It's getting put on my book list now.
Yep.
Yes, please do. You
In about 2 years.
there's a little bit you might not like about it at first, when like the Chronicles of Narnia, where you go from Earth to fantasy. If you're not a big fan of that, once you get past that, though, it's one of the greatest set of books I've ever read.
I actually found my replacement for Narnia because I can't stand that book. The Magicians. It's a grown-up Harry Potter meets Narnia.
Okay.
So
Good. Tomorrow night we're going to be doing a stream on this channel for Table Breakers, and anybody who is interested in watching us discuss campaigns, do's and don'ts during middle levels during the Act 2 of your grand scheme of things, please tune in because we do have some people that have been running games for a few years. And we like to talk about the successful times. I like to talk about the times where I really screw up because I think those are the best lessons I've ever had behind the screen. And I think maybe my lessons might help you out. And hopefully the other lessons that are discussed will help others out as well.
What time, Bruce?
7:30 Central Standard Time. It might be at 8. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get home late. That's all I can say.
Because tomorrow is one of our craft videos, and we usually shoot them at about 8:00 avocado time.
Okay.
Avocado time. That's awesome.
Fair enough.
So if we miss part of it or have to leave during it,
That's fine.
You can always catch it on YouTube after.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight for tonight's stream, and we will be back on
Pleasure,
tomorrow.
guys. It was a pleasure. So nice meeting you.
Thank you, Shad. Thank you, Jackson.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
The pleasure is all ours, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, young man.